Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the 480th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. With us today, Steve Wellings and Andy Patterson. I'm Matt DiGianardo, live from Gilead. In what was a fun, entertaining, albeit one-sided beatdown, Bam Rodriguez puts his stamp really firmly down on the 115-pound division in taking out Sri Saket, Sor Rungvisai. You name a punch, he landed it. You name an angle, he worked it. Andy, the only way I could sum it up in my head was I'm thinking prime Chocolatito. That was a Chocolatito-like performance against a guy that Chocolatito couldn't figure out.
Yeah, certainly all the kind of variations of his punches. It's exactly what the kind of impression you get off him. I mean, said it before, he was one to watch. I think I go back at least 18 months, 2 years, maybe slightly longer. Last night, he just cemented my opinion that he will be the top man in the lower weight classes for years to come. You know, he's calm, he's calculated. For his age, 22, very, very mature in the ring. Knew himself, maybe not to go, two balls to the wall very early. He felt, you could see it with Rungvisai's shots. You know, there was power on the end of him, and then he said himself, I felt a difference in him after about round 3. Maybe just it's a hard career for Rungvisai at this point. Was it 50, 60 odd pro fights? Making weight. I've seen some training videos during the week and that it looked like he was in camp very early doors with a sweatsuit on. But as I say, he's calm, calculated, very, very mature for his age. The sky is the absolute limit for this kid, to be honest with you. I say Rungvisai's, might be an older fighter coming off 3 victories also. It's still a solid win on Jesse Rodriguez's resume at this point. He was very experienced, ex-world champion, as you say, done bad things to Chocolatito. But everything that Rodriguez did there last night, Rungvisai had no answers to, absolutely none. He was getting danced to the side, he was getting shots for every angle, he was getting uppercuts, he was getting hooked, he was getting straight shots, he was getting jabbed up downstairs. It was just insane, man. He had, absolutely no answers to it. Early on, I thought you could see the threat of his power, actually, as I mentioned, but Rodriguez just took him apart. Every round, just took him apart, outboxed him, outfought him even, especially in the kind of middle half of the fight. But it's round 6, round 7, I thought was just the beginning of the end. So I'm really excited for this kid's future. Really am. Really are thinking that this kid just could take out the old guard. And it's one thing that I would say about the lower weight classes. It's what we needed. We needed somebody coming through to take over the mantle for, like, say, Estrada and Gonzalez and that, because their time's coming where they're walking away in the next couple of fights. So we needed somebody. And the thing is, the divisions 108, 112, 115, they're all stacked. They're absolutely loaded with great talent. But I think with Rodriguez, you're getting a bit of X factor here. Sonny Edwards, good fighter, good boxer, but he can't draw flies. You know what I'm saying? did you hear the crowd there last night? They were absolutely fucking loving it. And then when they actually stopped the fight, it was the place was up in the air. And you can only go from strength to strength for this. But as I says, a sharp shooter, excellent footwork, kid is so talented, and as I say, he's come at the right time in the division for me. The aging legends are there to be had, and if he can clean them all up, the so-called fabulous four is what they were calling him on DAZN there last night. It's a great start to being a world champion. So as I say, if he thinks he can go down to 108, 112 and do the business there, then I'm all for that. As I say, if he's now set the standard now, actually, he's beat two guys, Quadras and Ring Visai, who are long-standing champs or long-standing ranked contenders of that division. So I think to say that to beat them in the manner what he has, is raising eyebrows. And last week, I think we all said that Rodriguez would probably win by decision and look good doing it. I think we said as well as, look, if he wins by stoppage, it would be a statement. And last night was an absolute statement for me.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible, and the footwork absolutely brilliant. Steve and Andy said, he talked, you go back down to 112, 108 maybe. I don't know why. It looked like he filled out into that weight really well. And that weight class, you're talking about some fights that could actually garner some money. I see no good reason for this guy to go back down. He needs to look up in more ways than one.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. We know where his weight is now, hopefully. He has the ability to go down in weight, but before the Quadras fight, Rodriguez wasn't really on my radar, anything other than like being a name on the cards and stuff, but I'm impressed by his attributes the more I see him. And it was his accuracy really that impressed me so much in last night's fight. He knew when to fight, when to hold, but the accuracy of his shots, he just stopped Rung Visai from establishing any rhythm in his attacks. Rung Visai did what I thought he would do. His intention was the body work. I thought that would pay dividends late in the fight, and maybe that's when Bam would have trouble, but we didn't even find out. He was not letting it go that far. He can punch a bit as well. Not thudding one-punch power, but he's good at working the angles, as Andy said, creating situations where the opponent ends up off balance and off guard. Once he's caught you out, he catches you with flush shots really quickly. It was like that uppercut he landed on Carlos Quadras. That's a case in point in his last fight. He'll hurt people that way and stop people. He models a lot of those moves on Lomachenko. You can see that in his style. And as good as Rodriguez is, you've got to factor in Rung Visai's situation as well, his age, his lack of activity. Over the past 3 years, he's had a real lack of regular, high-level opposition. And that doesn't take away from Rodriguez's talent, but I was talking to a friend of the pod about it, and Eddie, good timing from Eddie this was. I think he's got the timing spot on here with this kind of matchmaking, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, Rung Visai just looked a little bit slow for me. Took too many flush shots, relied on his chin. His days at the top are numbered at these kind of weights other than a top contender. And I just want to see how Rodriguez fares against guys like Estrada and Chocolatito now. Like you said, look up, not down. Let's see how he goes on against the best guys.
And we keep talking about the ones that we knew stateside and they're more popular with fans over here. But Andy, I personally would really like to see Bam fight the winner between Ioka and Nietes in the rematch. I think that would be a scrap.
Yeah, I think that's next month, isn't it? It kind of slipped my radar, to be honest with you. But no, mate, I would go with either the Estrada fight. Well, Estrada's fighting his brother, actually, I think, in his next fight. So
what?
Yeah. So basically, you know Joshua Franco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Jesse Rodriguez's brother, and he
is. His brother. I thought you were saying Estrada was fighting his own brother, and I'm like, no. Fucked up.
He's fighting fighting Rodriguez's brother. So he did say as if Franco was to win that fight, he would vacate the belt, and his brother would get the fight for the vacant title. But as it says, I agree with Steve. Either Estrada if he wins, obviously, or Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez has got the fan base, and that's what he'll have. Well, whatever that fight was at Texas, I think there last night. I think they would do great numbers. Nicaraguans and the Mexicans would mix pretty well. Ioka, Nietes, these are other two names I was mentioning actually. These guys have been stalwarts to the kind of lower weight classes over the years. Unified champs, long-standing champions, guys who are coming towards the end. So yeah, well, I've got no issue making those fights, so to speak. We're all looking at this kid now, thinking he's going to be like taking out everybody at this point. With like 115 down. So as I say, if he's up for it, if he's no one to hide behind a belt or promoters or networks, that type of shite, then look, I'm all down for it. I'm down for every single fight because, as I say, when you see a kid very early doors, even by chance, you're like, yeah, this kid could have something, and then you see him kind of like delivering the manner of what he has. Yeah, I'm down for any fight, mate. Any fight. Yates Ioka's come. I would favour Ioka in that rematch, to be honest with you. But
yeah, Nietes is a little bit long in the tooth at this point. And I mean, I know Ioka's not young, but Nietes is close to 40.
I pulled up the WBO rankings there actually because I know it was a WBO title fight. Koshi Tanaka, he's fighting next Wednesday, I believe, or the week after. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
you see that?
Fushizawa or something. He's fighting. Yeah.
Yep. You see, you got in Kahas kicking about. You've got one of the Maloney brothers, I'm sure, is up there. Rung Visai's been knocked off. You can maybe see like some. I don't know if Son Edwards would want to go wait for that one, as you say. Would Rodriguez want to come in for that fight all the same? Who knows? Really. I know Sonny seems to be kind of calling out Martinez quite a fair bit at this point. Which, by the way, can we just say on Martinez on that card actually again, either injured, failed to make weight, whatever it was, coming totally unreliable at this point. Actually,
yeah, I think he's done. I think that if that fight would have gone through, my pick on Arroyo would have been good.
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think it'd been pretty solid actually, and we were just saying it last week as well that Gonzalez is probably taking the prime out of him, to be honest with you. So maybe also a bit of motivation as well, who knows? But yeah, look, mate, you go down through that list for like 115, 112, 108. There's a couple of fights to be had, but outside of maybe Gonzalez or Estrada, maybe Sonny Edwards, I would say maybe Ioka Nietes would give him a decent fight. I don't think really there's much. Well, maybe Nakatani, sorry, maybe he might give him a tough fight. Other than that, I think he would pretty much beat everybody else, to be honest.
See, in the IBF rankings, Matty, I was just going to mention there quickly. You're mentioning Charlie Edwards. We're talking about Sonny. When was the last time Charlie Edwards even fought? I see he's ranked highly with the IBF and all. I remember the Martinez fight when he got hit on the ground. When's he even fought since then? I can't even remember.
God, you're asking the wrong guy on that one. I don't have the box
fight on Did you fight on a card? Some sort of was it York Hall or something?
Did I?
Hang on a minute here, mate. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, it was more rhetorical, Matty, rather than asking you. I was trying to summon it in my brain. Go on, Andy.
So it was the one that Isaac
That's
Logan.
good.
It was the one that Isaac Logan knocked out against Luis Lopez.
Oh, right, okay. Wouldn't have even known.
He won in 2 rounds against.
Must be hanging on for a title shot, isn't he? Not affecting his position, because I haven't seen him in a meaningful fight, like I said, since he was rolling around on the floor against Martinez, and Suleiman was reversing the decision live off the big screen.
He's fought some sort of Spaniard, mate. Yeah, that was an overweight fight. Who knows what he's doing these days? As I say, he's highly ranked. You said, mate, was it the IBF? You said.
Yeah, 3 with the IBF, according to Box Live. Yeah.
Super flyweight.
There's still some great talent around the weights there, but the problem is most of these guys are getting old. I mean, it's an interesting passing of the torch, but God, I struggle to think who's the youngest between Gonzalez, Estrada, and Rungvisai there.
Rungvisai is the oldest, I think. Then it's Gonzalez, and then Estrada possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's at least a decade between Bam and Estrada.
Easy, mate.
It's it'll be interesting, and we'll see. I mean, if there's any other young emerging talent coming up, that can give him a shot too. You can't forget about those kids that just come out of nowhere. Didn't have any amateur career, and then they just start banging it up in the pros. And before you know it, they're in a title fight. So let's see here on the undercard. Akhmadaliev decided in the 12th round to start using his left hand again, despite it being hurt. Managed to take out Ronny Rios in what was at times a fairly interesting fight. Rios was a little bit in it, not totally in it. It seemed like Akhmadaliev hurt his hand in about the 6th round, and he was just absolutely battering Rios in the 4th. Looked like it was going to end there. And then he was able to find that right hook down the stretch. But in the 12th, he just came out firing away, put Rios down. Referee stepped in. Maybe didn't have to stop it. Who knows? But Andy, and this kid he's a real fun fighter at 122. He's got a wide variety of skills to use in the ring. Strong performance, but you wonder about those hands now.
Yeah, we'll start with the fight first. So I thought he looked good, at least. Good in his feet, circled Rios a fair bit during the fight. Good combinations, speed was good. As you say, he hurt his hand midway through that fight. I'll give Rios a bit of credit, at least he tried to come forward, but he was just met with a blizzard of shots, really, wasn't he? I mean, Rios had small cameos of success, possibly. Just couldn't sustain him, just because, Ahmed was throwing combos at mid-distance, were kind of like cuffing type whipping shots. It just kind of kept him at bay, really. And of course, I think the only shot he could really get off was like a jab. But I thought Ahmed varied up his jab. He was head and body with it, warned a couple of times with potential low blows. The uppercuts were good. Body shots were excellent. And you say that body shot that Rios took in the 12th round was just brutal. It looked like he just wanted to drop his trunks and take a shit right there on the spot, actually, the way he went down there, to be honest with you. But they are the body shots, so that they just do not disappear quick, those ones, actually. And Rios, he could barely defend himself, to be honest with you. So I thought the stoppage was pretty much fair, because what do you want? You want actions to happen. That's how actions do happen. I think the referee made the right call there. And I just want to re-reference to something. I'm not a big believer or supporter of punch stats, but I did think it was quite telling, actually, at the end. The Zone put up their wee snapshot. They said the stats was that Rios only landed 93 shots and took 216. So if they are anywhere near accurate, yeah, he was completely bossed for the entire fight. But at the same time, I will say this: as good as what he was there last night, and Rios isn't world level as such, because he just kind of seemed to go over the line. But for me, Ahmed showed to me that he can't beat Stevie Fulton. For me, actually, I think Fulton's shown in some of the toughest situations against Figueroa. He was under severe pressure for most of the fight. He came up clutch. And he delivered the goods. He can also dip. He can box circles around about his opponent, that as well, like he did against Roman, for example. So I think Fulton is definitely going to start a favourite for me in that. I know he's been talking to Eddie on Twitter about trying to get this fight made. I think he's got a mantra possibly coming up as well, Fulton. So maybe he deal with that, possibly by a cash payoff. But Ahmed Fulton sounds good, but Ahmed, as I says, he was decent. He was good. That's all I can say, mate. Rios just couldn't do nothing with him, to be honest with you. Just couldn't get past those kind of like mid-distance shots. For me, at least, as well, the Fulton fight against Ahmed and the inside, I think that's where the fight is win or loss for me. And I think Fulton comes up trumps in that, because you mentioned the hands as well, and I think Fulton's got far more variety than what Ronny Rios showed there last night.
With Akhmadaliev with that sneaky long reach, though, I am a little bit curious how his jab might play in that fight. I think that's the only thing that makes me not 100% Fulton, but I'm still probably 90-85% on that.
Yes, I think with me with Fulton as well, it's his possible lack of power, but then again, he's shown that he knows how to handle himself in tough situations. So I wouldn't be really kind of look too much in it, to be honest with you. I think Ahmed can certainly be tagged. He can get caught with the chin in the air a couple of times a wee bit. It'd be interesting to see how he does get past his jab, though, because if he does, I think Fulton takes over. If he does, if he takes his jab away, I think he takes over that fight.
That is probably the story. Steve, what are your thoughts on this one? It sure looked like it was going to go all 36 minutes, but that 12th round, fuck the hand, fuck my energy levels, man. He went for it, and you got to give that to him. The fight's in his pocket, and he said, fuck it, I'm going to go knock this guy out.
Yeah, I like that. He went for it as if he was behind. He really wanted to get the stoppage, even though his hand was going to be sore in the morning. It was giving him a bit of grief. I think the stoppage was about right. Rios could have heard the bell, but what was the point? He wasn't going to win on points. It might have looked better on his box set, but he was sending out every distress signal possible. MJ, he's well-rounded. He's a nice distance fighter. Puts his hands together really well. whipping in those hooks to head and body. He seems like he can bang a bit. He eases off for some rounds, but when he steps on the gas, I think he's quite explosive. He's fierce. He's fast. He did seem to have definitely hurt his hand. I don't know if it was broken or not around the middle rounds, but it didn't affect him in the end about getting a positive result. He just put it all on the line. Andy mentioned absolutely Ronny Rios. He's tough, but he's limited after a certain point. It was only his toughness, really, from about the 10th onwards that kept him in it for as long as he could, because those body shots were absolutely crippling him. And as for Akhmadaliev, I think he will be a tough fight for Fulton. I know it's what have you done for me lately, and I watch Fulton and I watch Akhmadaliev, and sometimes you might go back and forward. I've always said that Fulton would beat Akhmadaliev, but it's not going to be a gimme. It's not going to be an easy fight for Fulton. It'll be a difficult fight. I do favour him, but the DAZN PBC thing, that's another roadblock, isn't it? It makes it difficult to get over the line. But it does feel to me like a fight that can be made. Neither of these guys seem to be carrying gigantic egos. They're both calling each other out. They managed to make Fulton Figueroa, which was an in-house fight, fair enough. And on the other side, they managed to make Akhmadaliev Rahman. So if they can just come together now, DAZN and the PBC, and make Fulton Akhmadaliev at those lower weights, they're usually easier to make. So I'm hoping they can come together. I think both fighters want it. Let's just get the money sorted out and get the TV network sorted out. But wouldn't be a gimme at all. I'll go for Fulton still, but Akhmadaliev, like I say, he can bang, he can punch. If he can let those shots go, he can definitely keep it close on the rounds and on the cards. But I would still narrowly favour Fulton, Matty.
And I have a hunch that is how the books will see it as well. Also on that card, Jessica McCaskill going out and absolutely blitzing Alma Ibarra in TKO 4 rounds. Ibarra quitting on her stool between rounds. In a fight where, a lot of these women's fights, the champions, minus 800, minus 1,000. I'm a little bit closer on this one. I had said last week that I thought there might be a little bit of value on Ibarra if she was more than 5-1. Well, the odds makers had her about 4-1, paying 4-1. And McCaskill just beat the shit out of her. Absolutely beat the crap out of her. Ibarra is a naturally bigger woman. And she first sweeping right she hit her with in the first round seemed to give her a hard time. Multiple right hands in the second. And by the third round, Ibarra was holding quite a bit. And then with the last 10 seconds to go in the round, McCaskill just caught her with a good hook and then came in and smacked her around for the last 10 seconds, quitting on her stool. The rough translation, as I understood it, from the people at the zone was, "No, I just want to go back home. I don't want to anymore." Ibarra, crap beaten out of her, sunken in the corner. Do either of you guys watch this fight? I know it's not always on your radar as much as mine.
Didn't watch it, mate.
No. I flicked through it and I got to the point where she was quitting on her stool and I thought, I'm not going to rewind it. So you've given me a greater recap than I could have done, Matty. I
was catching up with something for the Friday night, I think, mate, during that time. I was in my bed, possibly.
All right. Yeah, that was a decent one. So did either of you guys catch Raymond Ford either?
Negative.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah, decent prospect, decent looking prospect, Steve. There's some holes, but quick, puts his punches together well. Not afraid to fight on the inside a little bit. Pretty fair performance against an undefeated fighter.
No, I like the look of him. I think he looked really good. He looked fast. He's called a savage. He's 23. He's got Brian Peters in his core, and I was thinking Brian Peters, but it wasn't the Brian Peters from Dublin. It was another rotund version of Brian Peters there. But putting that aside, I thought he definitely put his punches together lovely, won the majority of the rounds. The judges seem to think so. Medina, as you said, was unbeaten. He was riding high off the back of a decent win. In his last fight, he caused the guy to retire. I think the commentary team mentioned he could punch a little bit, but it wasn't even close. He lost all 10 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards. And Ford, I was looking at the draw on his record. I'm sure I saw that one of the DAZN undercards, which was slightly worrying, but it was like quite a few fights back now. Aaron Perez in 2021, he put that behind him by knocking out Reese Bellotti in the Matchroom Garden. So he's definitely back on track now, Ford. And yeah, I think there's a lot to like about him. He has that kind of Floyd style about him a little bit. Like pushing out the elbows and the arms and pushing off the opponent. But if they can just get past that Floyd thing, there's only one Floyd. You don't have to replicate that. And he bees himself, and he bees with the first Raymond Floyd rather than the 13th or 14th Floyd Mayweather, and becomes a bit more aggressive. I think he can definitely go places. How far, who knows? It's hard to say at this level, but he's moving in the right direction forward, and I think it was a good performance. It was a more exciting performance than the other guy, which no doubt you're going to come on to. I'll come on to it right now. White Chocolate, the Russian fella, Ababi. I think he's had 13, 14 fights now, something, but beat this No Larios Jr., who fought Kevin Ajarko in his last fight. I think Ababi looks all right, but he's not really exciting. He looks like a bit of a YouTuber, like he's a bit of a Jake Paul impersonator or something, and I'm not really sure what Eddie's going to do with him. He's Russian, well, I don't know, he's of Russian descent or something, somebody says apparently, but he's from Brooklyn, so I don't know if you saw that one, Matty, but I'm not really that fussed on him.
I missed that one. I
much.
got it on. Yeah, I got it on for Raymond Ford. And to be fair, if they would have had the Martinez Arroyo fight on there, that would have been a really strong card. It was still pretty good. But, but that would have, best laid plans. Can't hold that against him. That kind of falls on Martinez, unfortunately. So, that was an enjoyable one. And Andy, we'll get to the one on the upset on Saturday later, but you said you caught some stuff on Friday. Why don't you go ahead and give us a summary of your viewing this weekend?
Well, I was just trying to think, actually. Obviously, just talking about the light flyweights, for example. Well, I know I mentioned the Heckley Butler fight just now, but I don't know if anybody caught it. He fought last night. Massive upset, I would say, of some sorts. I think I kind of wrote his obituary there last week, to be honest. Outboxed Elwin Soto for over 12 rounds. It came down really at the 12th round, knocked him down in the 12th, and it kind of swung the tide in his favour for the decision, 114, 113 across all three scorecards. But as I say, Butler just used good movement, created problems for Soto. Was unable to land any signature power shots. Just let Butler rack up the points. It showed that Soto's he's got a real issue with boxers who do use every inch of the ring. He showed to be one-dimensional. That's how he lost his title to Jonathan Gonzalez. That's how he got beat anyway. And as a result, Butler now becomes a potential. Either that was eliminated, I think it was last night. So that potentially puts Butler in a place to fight Ken Shiro for the WBC title. Just for a bit of information there. And just talking about Jonathan Gonzalez, he fought on Friday night against Mark Antonio Barriga, who's a Filipino. I don't know if I mentioned him last week, but he was another one who'd been missing since 2018. Couple of comeback fights, and got back in the mix for a title. Anyways, he's he pushed Gonzalez to the 12th round. But I thought Gonzalez, again, he's a boxer off the back foot, and he just picks his moments to kind of pick his points up. What else was on Friday?
And it's a good thing he won that, because if he would have lost, there would have been no male Puerto Rican boxing champions.
Interesting.
Yep,
Interesting.
He's the last one standing.
Interesting. There's another one actually. Remember that was it 4'8" he was? Remember that Axel Vega mate for Haruhito Kaiguchi?
Yeah, I heard the little short fucker got screwed.
Yeah, well, it was a tough fight actually, for what I can recall. It. I'll need to go back, maybe kind of rewatch it, whatever and that. But it was seemed to be quite tough for what I saw of it. Enrico Colling, I think he's potentially ranked high up with some of the sanctioning bodies. He got iced in one round against Michel Sislak at cruiserweight. I think he got beat off Lawrence Okolie a couple of months back as well. And just one for the radar, or a couple for the radar actually. I seen Albert Ramirez fighting in Argentina there on Friday. It was something I caught on YouTube last night. He's for Venezuela. He's been in the Olympics and that as well. Beat Julio Cesar La Cruz a couple of times. So he had a one-round blast out against a Brian Suarez, who seems to be quite highly ranked with, I want to say, the BF or the BA possibly. So it'll be interesting. Just keep an eye on that Albert Ramirez potentially maybe kind of getting fast-tracked. Seems to be quite a violent fighter. And then obviously I saw some stuff for Germany there. I didn't watch the Sky card because it was kind of like the same level of shit I was watching for Germany, which was
I'm hoping Steve saw that one, because if he saw that one, then we got it all covered. I didn't see
you're
talking about. Hey, right on.
There you go. So mate, that was kind of what I saw on Friday. I've got a couple of German cards I saw on Saturday. For example, I seen bits of the undercard on Sky. It was available on YouTube, but I wasn't going to wait to watch it on a stream anyway, because nothing just kind of floated my boat, to be honest with you. So there's another Olympian for Germany, Artem Harutyunyan, beat Humberto Galido over, I think it was 10 rounds. I think it was, had him down midway. I think he won a decision in the end. Seems okay, but we just need to see him kind of up in class now at this point. So, yeah, it was kind of slim pickings this week, to be honest with you, mate. But Jesse Rodriguez made it all the more exciting, to be honest with you.
He's an incredible talent. And I mean, he's 22. God, he could be around for, another decade plus. It's fantastic. But Steve, why don't you take us over that Sky card? Sam Eggington taking another O. Look at him go. Just keeps moving forward.
Yeah, just keeps moving forward, does Sam. I was watching this fleet. I watched the main event. The undercard was more of a fleeting experience. We were doing another Boxing Nutters Messenger group call-in last night, so there was me and 3 or 4 others enjoying ourselves during the undercard. I saw a bit of River Wilson bent against Tyler Denny. I expected Denny to get the win. He did by split decision in that one as well. I'll go to the main event first of all, though. I mean, it's a bit of Sam Eggington. How can you not love a bit of Sam Eggington on a Saturday night? You see, over the first 4 rounds, I thought Sam's going to sweep this. He's going to even stop this fella, this Przemysław Zwisk. He had a really awkward style. They're very robotic and stiff. He was upright. He was looking for the clock. His chin was in the air. He was swinging really wildly at Sam, but he had no power behind him. And he was making Eggington look like Pernell Whitaker at times. But after about 5 or 6 rounds, Eggington started to tire a little bit. His face was showing some battle scars. And Zisk looked really tough for all of his limitations. This Polish fella, right, Matty, he wasn't going to fold easily. He kept on throwing. He wasn't winning the rounds, but he was doing okay. Anyone half decent would have got him out of there. But Sam was toiling a little bit. 1 wide on the cards. We know what he is as a fighter. I worry about Sam once he hangs up the gloves. I mean, what's he going to do with himself? What's there going to be left for him to do? But he got the win. He moves on. He's an exciting main event fighter. Local neck of the woods as well. I think he's from Edgbaston or something. This was in Coventry. Good to see Fat Mick Hennessy at ringside as well. Big fan of Mick myself. That's what Ben Shalom has to look forward to as he advances in his years. A Mick physique, blocking people at ringside so they can't see what's going on. But anyway, yeah, that was Sam Eggington. He got the win. Denny got the win as well. Adam Azim, I went for a slash whenever Loffit, I think it was coming into the ring. By the time I got back again, they were waving the tail and the fight was all over. He's like 4-0, 5-0, just banging people out for fun. They're going to have to try and find somebody who's going to do the distance with him. Didn't see Gibbs, McKenna, Benjamin, Thompson, any of those guys. Artingstall, I saw her warming up in the changing rooms. Didn't see the fight. I saw Dylan Chima, big entrance. Everyone was having a great time. Seen him on Twitter as well. Not much of a fighter, to be honest. Stu Greener's a tough guy, better than his record suggests. But Chima was getting touched up. Maybe he was throwing a few bombs, seeing if he could hurt Greener, maybe get the stoppage because the excitement of the occasion was getting to him or something. But I don't know. I fear for his prospects. I thought he took a lot of shots against what is effectively a journeyman, but that's what I saw of the card. As for Eggington, you can't go wrong with a bit of Eggington on a Saturday night. We've seen him in the past against Cheeseman, against that guy on Channel 5. Felt like a Channel 5 card. Mick at ringside. Amir Khan was there. He was having a great time as well. Good atmosphere. Overall, some of the standard of the fights wasn't the best from what I saw. But yeah, Sam, good stuff on a Saturday night.
Fantastic.
I've got one for Steve will love this one though, mate. Just to kind of cover up the Saturday stuff as well. Ronny Gabble.
Yes.
For Germany, 37, I believe he is, 38 years old. Fights for the WBU title there last night against a Victor Plotnikov, who hadn't won a fight, I believe, from 2015, I want to say. 2015 it was. Anyways, WBU title fight. The announcement obviously gets announced. I thought Plotnikov won the fight. And they gave it to that Ronny Gabble. The MC made a complete cunt of the fucking announcement. Anyways, Tim Boxell, I don't know if he's listening, he'd actually tweeted it saying they'd actually changed the decision and given it to Plotnikov and gave him the belt there. So he's the new WBU world champion. So fair play to Plotnikov. Hadn't won a fight in 7 years, and there he is. So fair play to the guy.
There you go. We got a few questions here. It's a slow week. There's no Oz. There's a card on here I was going to mention the previews, thinking, hey, maybe Oz knows this one. I'm a little worried now. Going to come up blank on that, but I got names. I've got names. We got a question here from Joe Kennedy. Our good friend Joe says, what do you lads think of Michael Spinks as a fighter? Beat Cooney, Holmes twice. Kawi, Eddie Gregory, Marvin Johnson, and many more, but you rarely hear his name mentioned with other great fighters of the same era. Steve.
Yes, well, I will caveat this first of all by saying this was before my time. It was before all of our time, so I'm only looking back at it with hindsight. Obviously, my overriding thoughts about Spinks was him getting knocked out by Tyson, and he never fought again. And of course, there was the first Holmes fight, controversial. Holmes was there on the verge of breaking Marciano's record, and Spinks managed to get the win. I was a big fan of Dwight Mohammed Karwi. Eddie Gregory, who went on to become Eddie Mustafa Mohammed. I love that era. Regular listeners of this show will know that Matthew Saad Mohammed was my favourite. Probably slightly before Spinks. He beat Marvin Johnson twice. Spinks beat Johnson as well. But Spinks will clearly punch. The fact that he knocked out Cooney up at heavyweight. He got some good knockout wins up at heavyweight as well. He was definitely a banger. Stylistically, I was never the biggest fan of him. I thought he had a really awkward style. Like, he was kind of disjointed almost. He leapt in with that left hand, that left jab, that left hook, and that led to like being Andy's put bad knees. I didn't realise that actually, Andy, so that kind of fits in there. A lot of awkward exchanges, a lot of tying up and grappling. I remember it was either the first or the second Holmes fight. It was awkward. The referee was having to break them up all the time. And bad knees makes absolute sense. Very stiff, kind of leggy. Like he was leaning over his knees. His ankles, I was going to say, weren't quite there. But I mean, he was very effective, very awkward, very effective. Could clearly punch. From a fighting family, you got Leon, Corey came after him. Look at those names there. Cooney, Holmes, Carway, Gregory, Johnson. You ain't a bad fighter if you're beating the guys of that caliber. Lineal champion as well. Moved up from light heavyweight to heavyweight. Had a good career, made some money. Joe Kennedy's right. Why don't we mention Michael Spinks more of a fighter? As a fighter, hopefully he's got his just due tonight on the Asylum.
Andy, who do you think was the best Spinks that was
Michael,
a professional fighter?
Michael, mate, without
All
doubt.
right.
The other one was just a waster, but although he achieved great things, I must admit.
Corey is underrated, though. Corey, he was not good on the eye, but he's got a really strong resume when you're talking about early 2000s, around 147, 154.
When you talk about the light heavyweight division, historically anyway, it's no one that gets a lot of love as such, because it was always classed before, like the original eight weight divisions. It was always classed as like the fucking, the playground before you can move up to heavyweight. It was unheard of, really, that many heavyweights went up, light heavyweights went up and won the heavyweight title. But Spinks was, as Steve says, he was tall, he boxed well enough, and he carried a very, very strong punch, good jab. I also agree with Steve, no many of his fights actually were great to watch, but as I says, when they put it together, he was fantastic. This was a guy who was trained by Eddie Futch, by the way, so one of the great teachers of the sport. And that era as well, at light heavyweight, you've got, as you said, you got fucking Murray Sutherland. You had Dwight Mohammed Kalwi has been mentioned. Eddie Davis was I'm sure he was there. Jerry Celestine, who'd been round the block with a few guys. The great Matthew Saad Mohammed. No much can be, nothing else can be said about that guy. He needs a movie made about him. He's got that type of life story. Look, he was a good fighter. He got, I would say, his last fight that I watched, in recent terms, would be Larry Holmes. I need to go and see if I've got the scorecard somewhere on my office, but I've got them somewhere. But I'm sure it was one of those fights where I had possibly Holmes winning. I think I had Holmes winning the first fight, then Spinks winning the second fight, possibly. I'm sure I had the rematch, and you just saw the fear in his eyes, man, the night he fought Tyson. Tyson was just, at that point, was just a killer machine. Just to qualify the bad knees comment, if you look at some of his fights, you will see him wearing knee sleeves or knee braces. I'm sure he maybe had both knees tied up that night against Tyson, actually. It seemed, was it 87 seconds? Well, he did the right thing, I suppose. Not man.
That was Pete Tyson, wasn't it?
It's just like Yuri Foreman, man. Poor sons of bitches.
It was one of those. It was one of those punches you actually never saw land. It was so quick, so devastating. You're like, where did that? Because Spinks had his back to the camera at the time. You're like, where the fuck did that land? But yeah, look, you just saw it. But look, he was a very, very, very talented fighter. Just wasn't easy to watch sometimes, shall I say. And that's maybe the reason why he doesn't get as much love as some of the greats usually do.
There you go. So thank you so much for the question there, Mr. Kennedy. We appreciate you, sir.
Matty, for the audio listeners, can I just read out that comment from Des that you put on there? Yeah, Des boxed to a good standard. He put up on the comments here in case anybody can't see it. Eddie Gregory trained me at the Peacock for a while. Absolute gentleman he was. Spinks was an amazing fighter, so was his brother. Both lunatics and real roughhouses, so I thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, I remember a story with his brother, actually. Was it Butch Lewis, was his manager? And he was like saying to him, look, you find him lying sleeping in his bed when he should be doing road work. And Butch Lewis was like, right, okay, fuck it, I'm done with you. I'm walking, I'm leaving, I'm away. And apparently he comes running after him. Butch, he's trying to get his fucking his sweatsuit. And Butch, I'm going to start running, I'm going to start training, I'm going to start this. So you say absolute madman. It was one thing I always remember about his career, at least, was when he fought Dwight Muhammad Calwi, and he's trying to hook fucking Calwi in the face with like 4 or 5 hooks, and he just keeps pulling his chin back. It's one of those great moments in fucking history that he just leaves his chin in the air there to get tagged. He's like, nah, he can't touch me, cannot touch me. So Calwi was another favourite back in that was bitching that era, man. 1975 up to about the mid 80s. Light heavyweight, cruiserweight, it was just fucking bitching.
Yeah, Yaki Lopez, didn't you? John Conte, all them boys.
Yep. John Conte, ex-champion as well, mate.
Calwi was class because he was so small, wasn't he? We've done punches from the past before. He was like 5'7". The Camden
Finnegan.
He had long ass arms for his height, though.
Oh, he did, yeah. He was a great fighter, Calwi.
I know many come out of federal prison by having become official, legit world champions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some stories there. Ron Lyle fucking went to prison in Denver, Colorado.
We've covered Ron Lyle
Ron Lyle as well. He was a bad man, by the way.
He was, dude.
He could have been anything, he could have been a basketball player, NFL player. Just got caught up in the wrong company and fucking shanking people. I think is.
This old guy that used to play some golf with, his name was Louis, and he used to do a little bit
for your neck of the woods as well.
Hold on, it's so Louis used to do a little bit of training, like amateurs and some pro, more just assistant in Denver around like the 70s and 80s. So he knew Ron Lyle when he came out of the Canada. He was training around there, and he said he was a straight asshole. But he said he's like a kid would come up to him for an autograph or something. He's like that. Be like, nah, man, get the fuck away from me. But he said like if a woman would approach him or something like that, he'd be like, yeah, baby, I can do that for you. No problem.
Well, he's been stuck in federal prison for the best part of 10 years. What do you expect him to do, man? He's trying to make up for lost time, isn't he?
Had to try to catch up with Wilt Chamberlain somehow.
He couldn't catch a break, could he, Ron? He was from the projects in prison. Even after his retirement, he got caught up in a couple of murders, didn't he? Had to spend all of his time trying to fight them off. You remember he's like a bouncer, wasn't he? I think in Las Vegas or something. Just couldn't catch a break, man.
I think one of his mates in prison, for his prison days, had come to visit him, and I think they end up killing him or something, or shooting him in self-defense or something like that. Something wild.
I actually think, God, who was it? Was it? No, God, it was. I think it was Jim Brown, the football player, the movie Mars Attacks. I think that his character was modeled off of Ron Lyle, because remember he was the greeter dressed up like a fucking Spartan or some shit like that.
There you go.
And I don't eat pork. Really? You don't eat pork.
Ron Lyle was involved in the greatest stare down in history, in my opinion. But that fucking George Foreman stare down is epic. Fucking Howard Cosell was literally going to fucking orgasm in his pants, man. He's like, look at this.
Well, I'm sure you guys have done that punches from the past.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That fight didn't fail from fucking stare down all the way to the fight itself. I mean, that fight was exactly
violence
as it was.
Personified. That's what that was, mate.
Well, and putting down Big George like that, and not an exhausted Big George, a full tank Big George. Fuck me. That's no joke.
He could look like he could drop like a bag of cement out of a fucking 3-story window, man, the way you hit the fucking canvas. Fuck me.
God, I'm just loose on my 70s heavyweight boxing. Did Ron Lyle ever fight Ernie Shavers?
I think he might have, mate. Give me a second, I'll just double check that. But I remember fighting Ali as well. Ali had him rocking all the place.
Yeah, he knocked out Shavers in 75 before the Foreman fight. The fight before.
There you go.
And the Foreman Lyle fight was Foreman's first fight back after losing to Ali, wasn't it?
Yep, that's right.
Talk about going in at the deep end. George showed some balls after losing to Ali, and then going in against Lyle, getting hurt, getting dropped. I tell you what, he showed some balls. I think George.
The other thing as well is he'd actually, even coming up as a pro, Lyle, all the way started late. I mean, look at the names he fucking fought: Buster Mathis, right? Gregorio Peralta, who'd been in with Foreman as well. I think he might have fought him twice. Jurgen Blin, who I'm sure Ali fought, and you then got Oscar Bonavina, who was not a fucking easy night's work for anybody.
Fought Frazier, didn't they?
Fought Frazier, fought Ali, fought them all. Jimmy Ellis, Jimmy Young, he lost to him. Jimmy Young was never an easy night's fight. I think Did Jimmy Young no beat Foreman, or was it, I think it was somebody else at this point?
He beat somebody of note because,
did,
like
he
I
beat
said,
Foreman.
I'm loose on that.
Didn't he beat Foreman?
That was-
Foreman retires.
That was the night that
Young?
Foreman met God for the first time. That's what it was. It was who was in his corner? Who was the great Gil Clancy was in Foreman's corner that night, and he says Jesus came to meet him in the change room. Apparently, he says it wasn't that. He says it was just dehydration and fucking hallucination. But George met the beardy man that night, and ever since then he went away for what was it, 10, 20 years, whatever it was, and become an ordained minister.
He came back in '88, and he came back to raise money for his church.
Yep.
Yeah. His comeback, I still think that George Foreman's comeback is one of the most amazing feats in sports. As far as like, if you think like boxing and age, Foreman's comeback, Bernard Hopkins' career in his 40s, Archie Moore, like that shit's fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible. You know that. I mean, that's up there.
Arslan though, mate. Look at Farah Arslan. He's fucking 52, still going at it, chasing all that smoke.
Arslan grill
in a fucking stadium named after him, isn't it?
Here, how's the thing, Steve? When you mentioned the fucking grill, wasn't Foreman meant to be the person that was meant to be the first dibs on that? Actually, who was it?
I think it was Ali.
Holyfield bought out a grill, didn't he, as well? I think
there was somebody who passed over on it.
Holyfield bought out a grill, or no, I can't remember.
God, we've really
Quite
got
possibly.
off the deep end now. Now
Yeah.
we're talking appliances.
Yeah, we're going.
But you're right. Somebody turned down the George Foreman grill, and then George took it on. It wasn't Mike.
Bugging me now.
It wasn't Mike Tyson. I swear to God, it might have been Ali.
Hang on a minute. I'm going to search this. This is day man, not in the.
Sometimes people in the chat put something in there.
Oh, it was Hulk Hogan. Apparently, it was Hulk Hogan.
There you go.
$161 million mistake. Apparently, £161 million. Sorry, mistake.
Yeah, Foreman made more off the grills, didn't he, than he did boxing?
Yeah. Jesus, Hulk Hogan. There's something else just dropped it in there as well.
Dude, those commercials would have been great. The 28-inch pythons are going to cook a 28-inch porterhouse, brother.
You eat your vitamins and take your steroids, brother.
But also eat your meat off the Hulk Hogan grill.
I tell you what, some of those wrestling promos back in the 80s, man, when they were full of cocaine, was absolutely amazing. Their eyes are popping out their eyes. Their eyes are just popping out. Dude, veins are like red raw.
Andy, you guys all have access to watch whatever you want. If you get a chance, watch the Beyond the Ring series that Vice has out there. Like, wrestling has some of the craziest fucking stories that you could ever imagine. Like, this shit's beyond. It's the Owen Hart, the Von Erich brothers, fucking Ultimate Warrior shit. Like, shit's fucking crazy shit.
Matty, funny you should mention that. Actually, Take Aim's friend of the pod, shout out, sent me a link. I don't know if it was Vice or one of them channels. Apparently, back in the 80s or the 90s, wrestling did like a boxing style tournament, and they all boxed like it was not. I'd never heard.
Yeah, it was in the 90s.
And
they
wanted to show
who
the hardest wrestler was. It was a really interesting documentary, actually. I would recommend that to watch that.
Oh, and it fucked up some people's careers.
Yeah, the guy who won it, man. They didn't want him to win it, and they made a right mess of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't he knocked out Dan Severn, didn't he?
He knocked out the hard man, who was they wanted him to be the toughest wrestler. But
who was the UFC fighter? Yeah, I think it was the UFC.
I don't know who they were, Matty, but it was an interesting watch. Anyway, Ames put me onto it. Really good watch.
Yeah, it's that whole series is fucking crazy. Like boxing and professional wrestling are equally as fucking bad.
Bart Gunn, yeah,
Bart and Billy Gunn, yeah. They're a tag team, the Smoking Guns in the 90s, and then and Billy became part of DX, and that was all Shawn Michaels, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and shit. 90s epic wrestling. Anyways, I could go off on that forever.
Joe Kennedy, be sorry you ever asked that question.
Yeah,
he fell asleep now. That's what he's happened. He fell asleep.
Yeah, look at where we ended up here. Well, to be fair, Steve, this is just how bad the boxing calendar is. And I just want to point this out, that what a negative it's been for MTK Global to have dropped out, because we would have had more boxing. And that shit was usually on ESPN. I could watch it. We got more super chats when MTK Global was in business.
Yeah.
The negatives.
The thoughts of Matty are not necessarily the thoughts of the Asylum.
Germany's got more cards on this week than what they had in the UK. It was fucking insane. Italy's the same.
Fuck, I'm surprised they're letting them do that. Fucking with all the power issues they're having over there. It's insane. Turning off the nukes, putting on the coal, crazy fucks. Anyways, we got another question in there. Let's see here. Declan asks us, question for the pod: who would have been the favorite if Edwin Valero had have fought Asylum Freitas? I always wanted that fight to happen. Who would the guys pick if it happened 2005-6 when both arguably in their respective primes? I don't think that was Valero's prime. I don't think Valero ever got to his prime because his ring IQ was going up. Andy, your thoughts?
I'm taking Valero, mate, every day of the week. Freitas is as good as what he was. He could punch as well. I just don't think he would have coped well with the pressure that Valero would have put on him. Maybe he would have dinged Valero up a wee bit, but that was just a mental wee bastard, to be honest with you. And it's I'm maybe kind of overhyping him a wee bit because of how his career ended, and he never really kind of saw his. He never achieved what he should have achieved, shall we say. But there's no dispute that Freitas in his own right was an absolute tremendous fighter. They even said he was about as equal in Brazil as to what Michael Jordan was in America. That's fucking massive, mate. So, as I say, he's a good fighter, but I just think, the ferocity that Valero would have brought actually would have seen it done in the end. Who can forget that fucking great fight that he had with Barrios and Freitas, which was also covering punches for the past. One of the all-time great endings, actually. You see Barrios just stood up on one leg, just teetering all over the place. It was absolutely tremendous.
It's my favorite fight from that era, and it got covered up by fights that other people lean on as fights of the year, like Corrales Castillo and Gaddy Ward. And I'm sorry, for me, that fight, it's just, there's something I love about it more, and it's just morbid with fucking Barrios wiping the blood off on the referee
and the referee shirt.
It's just a jacked fight in a lot of different ways too. But
it is.
Freitas
guys
was great.
Dropped down in both. Guys were dropped twice, I believe. Argentina against Brazil, big rivalry there. Didn't often get it in the fucking boxing world. When
Atmosphere
you get two
was class too.
It was even a filled out arena, actually. To be honest with you, when you got two guys who are basically, well, there was a unified title on that, but I think Barrios had been a champion at one point as well. That the place was absolutely rocking. And then also, as it says, to have Freitas end the fight and the manner of what he did, mate.
And he looked fucked in that 11th round.
He did. This is the thing as well, and it was close in the cards. I'm sure one was a draw, and maybe one was going either side, and it was all a fucking fight for in that 12th round, and he just turned it completely on his head. From what I can recall or can remember. I'm sure Freitas was on the back foot for a good portion of the fight, but as I say, some of those straight shots that he could get a lot of leverage in, especially in that right hand, and ultimately that's what paid fucking Barrios his fucking will at the end of the day. Who, by the way, I think Barrios ended up in prison at one point for killing a pregnant woman in a car accident. Right. I think it was. Done time in jail as well. So.
And Freitas this is an interesting. It's an interesting fight because Freitas's best was exceptional. He was just getting a little worn down, I think, by the time he fought Juan Diaz and shit like that. But this is a guy who came back well past his prime, 20 pounds plus past his best weight, and fucking beat the shit out of Oliveira. Freitas is a true badass, and God,
Barrios fought as early as last year, by the way, mate, just to let you know.
That guy's had a fucked up life too, man. He went to jail for hit and run, vehicular manslaughter, and I think he was drunk. He's had a fucked up time.
That's right.
But
Freitas was fighting up at middleweight in his last fight, I believe. When was that? That's a good while ago, actually.
It's 5 years, I think, now at least.
He's also got a win over Zahir Rahim. He's got one over Zahir Rahim, who'd beat. I want to say that he beat Morales the fight before, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's not a joke win either.
He was a really incredible fighter. I mean, that was a good era for 130, 135. I mean, you had him, Corrales, Castillo, Casamayor. There were some fucking exceptional fighters around there, even before Pereira Morales moved up with fucking Spadafunk. If that guy could have kept himself straight, Steve, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Because he was a shell of himself, and he almost picked that title up. What was that, 2015? It was a pretty close fight.
Yeah, at one point around super feather lightweight, you had Spadafora, Floyd, Freitas, Casamayor all floating about. Only Freitas and Casamayor ended up fighting each other. But I think this is an excellent question by Declan. But given that kind of timeline he sets there,
Corrales and Casamayor fought, didn't they?
yeah, they did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't including Corrales. I meant like the sort of Freitas, Casamayor kind of era. But Freitas was a hell of a puncher, and he'd beaten Casamayor in 2002. Then he beat Barrios in 2003. But I remember when he fought the fight after Barrios, Grigorian, he started looking like he was going through the motions to me. And then the next fight, he lost Corrales. So around this time frame that Declan's putting out, I think Freitas was on the wane by that point. And Valero, we don't know about his prime, but he was 2006. He beat Mosquera, so he was just starting to gather steam. So Freitas probably did a lot of fights by that point. He was a hell of a puncher. I'd say a few years earlier, Freitas, and a couple of years after Valero. If we'd have had those versions, it would have been a hell of a fight. But I think Valero at this point in this particular, what Declan suggested, would have beaten Freitas.
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. On you go.
I was gonna say, I would say, if you want a comparison of peak, you have to probably say Valero versus DeMarco and Freitas against Casamayor.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah. And Freitas Casamayor was a close fight too, remember?
But Casamayor, what a great stylist he was, man.
Yeah, he could be negative at times. He really should have put his foot on the gas against Freitas. I think he let that fight slip. He let the judges give it to Freitas. He just wasn't active enough. And a Cuban, who saw that coming?
Yeah, just to let the guys know, obviously me and Steve did another Edwin Valero punches for the pass on the fight against Vicente Mosquera. First fight ever that you've seen Valero hurt and dropped. And it was a very passionate Panamanian crowd because Mosquera was obviously Panamanian. He had to go fight away from home. Could have jacked it that night if he wasn't mentally tough, but he fucking turned it on its head as well. So Valero showed his mettle as well, and he did it on the road in a hostile environment. He fucking revelled in it. As you say, what was the time frame again? What was the time frame of the question? 0506?
0506. Valero beat Mosquera in 6. By that point, Freitas was fighting. Was he fighting Raheem around that time?
Corrales
rematch, possibly.
Yeah. Certainly the Raheem fight. And the one there we go. Just pulled up this week. Raheem 06, Diaz 07. That was his last fight for over, I want to say, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, possibly might have just caught him at the right time, to be honest with you. But there's no question that Freitas was a quality operator. I mean, the names just don't lie on his record there. And as Steve says, the power was legit, absolutely legit.
Well, and the one thing you got to say you can't go entirely Valero on this one is the fact that Freitas was a good puncher. He was he was a good sharpshooter at his peak too. And Valero fought with that chin straight up in the air.
Straight in the air, mate. But it was, again, we've seen him hurt, we've seen him drop. I've always believed that Mosquera fight was proving to me that guy, even though he was losing the fight, even though he looked like he was going to get knocked out, that was the way he was going to fucking go. The guy was just mental. Freitas, I just don't know if it got to that level of desperation of fucking wanting to die in the ring with that bastard. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to think, was the Barry Jones fight as well? Because Freitas fought Barry Jones. Was that Barry Jones' last fight as a pro?
It might have been. That was when he won the WBO off Jones, didn't he? That would have been about late 90s, was it? Early 2000s, something like that.
Possibly, aye.
Yeah, it was Barry's last fight as well. But you mentioned the cut. And David Valero, that just made him fight harder, those cuts. Look at
against
DeMarco, man. The blood was pissing out of his head.
I think that wasn't a punch or a accidental clash. That was a fucking elbow that caught him. And a lot of people with a fucking maybe milked that. What did he do? He's like saying to the referee, elbow, taking over the doctor.
Who was the ref in that fight too? I mean, great job by that ref too, man. Other than letting the 12th round start, honestly.
You want to give Lawrence Cole the fucking benefit of the doubt? Are you seriously going to say Lawrence Cole did a good job for
He
once.
did. Was that? I'll give that one to him. I'll
Yeah, it
give
was
that
Lord's
one
goal.
to him because
That
it
was
could
Lord's
have,
goal.
because that fight could have been stopped. I mean, God, that blood was nasty, but letting that fight go to its conclusion, I mean, it was amazing. I don't know. I like Freitas, man. Like same reason I like Sergio Martinez. You know that they're stylists.
What about the
They're hard
size?
to duplicate, right?
What about the size difference and maybe the reach of Freitas? I need to go and check, but see what heights they were. But obviously they both fought at 130
And 135. Yep.
Well, I try to think did Valero get a belt at 126? I can't remember, but anyway, Valero was just moving up to 135, and he was talking about moving up to was it 140 at that time to then fight Pacquiao?
He was chasing that Pacquiao fight. Everything he was doing, that would have been a fucking war, too.
Pacquiao, I think Pacquiao would have fucking killed him.
He would have chinned him at some point.
That's the peak version of Pacquiao we're talking about here, you know.
Anyways, yeah, that couple of good loopholes. Dez says the way Freitas fought against Casimir makes me think he beats Valero. So, I love that. That was a great discussion. Thank you for that one, Declan. That was fantastic. Man, I hope Rob shows up here. We're carrying it on about as far as we can. We wander through a few things happening here. We don't have Oz, but we have a fight on Friday for Bolton, England. It's going to be available on Fight Zone for you, Steve, with the Northern Area belt on the line. Mike McGoldrick versus Matt McCallum. McGoldrick 8-1, McCallum 4-1. Looks like they're sending him up on the fast track there, buddy?
What about the prediction league, mate? That's what we need to know about.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. You
just
settle your fucking ass down.
Mike McCallum, did you say?
Matt McCallum.
Matt McCallum.
Yeah, he's 4-0 at this time. Yeah.
Well, I've never heard of him, Matty, but I will tell you one thing. He's penciled in against Mike McGoldrick, and he's also got a fight penciled in a month later against Yaelton Neves. So there's confidence here in the Matt McCallum camp. I'm liking that.
Ain't fucking around. Ain't here to play.
Well, he ain't here to play after his last win over 1-22 Seamus Devlin.
Did he stop him or did he go points?
It went to the points, man. You ain't stopping Big Seamus. I tell you what, I don't think he's ever been stopped, has he? No, 31 losses. The Celtic Cobra. Look at his box rec picture.
What a sturdy bastard.
Yeah.
What a sturdy
Got one win. Who's he beaten? Naveed Iran. There you go.
Well, sucks to be Naveed. Kind of a painful thing to be that guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of
his fight zone, like, Matty, man. I don't know. I can't offer you anything.
And also on that fight, undefeated Jack Rafferty going in against Oladi Fajobi. Huh?
Where's he from? Let's have a look here. He's from Nigeria. He's Fija born, 36 years of age. Yeah, he looks decent in Matty. Looks like he could bang a little bit. He lost to Lee McCallister in 2022 in the basketball court, Accra, Ghana, for the WBO title. So that was an all-African affair between Lee and Olajide. Now that Lee McCallister's Ghanaian national, isn't he?
Yeah. Are you gonna watch this one, Steve? Andy, you gonna turn on the Fight Zone?
Fuck. Chill out, man. It's a Fight Zone. You got to pay for that shit, mate. I'll be watching. I'm not too decided yet. There's a couple of fights on Friday I might watch. There's a Japanese card on the Wednesday. I might sit and doing some paperwork. Next week's pretty much sparse, so isn't it?
You have an IBF 105-pound title clash between Raymark Quattro and Daniel Valadares from Mexico on Friday.
Yeah, I don't know who's carrying that one actually. Or, when I say that, in terms of who's showing it, might be a decent enough fight. Quattro's been in with. I'm trying to think now. He was in with Taduran, who's again another long-standing kind of like belt holding. And I'm sure that what do you call him? Is it Valdares? Seems an okay technician. Might struggle in situations where he's maybe getting pressured as such. So if I'll maybe go with a stoppage here in this fight, I'm maybe going to pick Quattro by, or probably pronounce it Quattero by stoppage. So yeah, I'll maybe watch that one. It'll probably be on like TV Azteca or something, like some shit like that.
All right. Well, yeah, it probably will be, and that was what the ESPN feed was for the Hecky Butler fight.
Did you watch that last night?
Yeah, Yeah, heck, he really pulled that one. I mean, I only caught. What's funny is I turned it on when it was like the 5th round because that's when the Rodriguez fight ended, and apparently that's about when he took over. And I mean, he just put on a fucking boxing clinic, and getting that, dropping him in the last round, that sealed the deal. 114, 113 across the board is rare.
Legit, it was a legit knockdown as well. There's nothing disputable about it, and that, as I mentioned, earlier on there, Soto was just kind of made to look like he's one-dimensional. Really got issues with boxers who just use every part of the ring. Used his feet well. Didn't really get tagged as such. It's boxed. At the end of the day, hit, not get hit. So fair play to him. As I say, it's I wrote him off last week. In all honesty, to be fair, I just thought he was pretty much old. He's been out the ring now for the best part or against legit operators at least. He's been out the ring for 2, 3, 4 years. He's come back and it's looked like he hasn't missed a beat, to be honest. So fair play to the guy. Made us all look foolish with our predictions, or me at least anyway. And as I say, if he somehow beats Ken Shiro, who's been upset already in a fight in the last 12 months, that would be the fucking comeback of the year.
Taraji's a good. Yeah, I mean, the who was the guy he lost to?
I want to say was it Yakubu or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, he's a decent fighter. He lost a fair bit early, but I mean, he's got a few decent wins on his resume, and he's become quite a knockout, puncher. I mean, that was. You're going to lose a little bit here and there. Shit happens. I think Ken Shiro is going to beat his ass, though.
We'll wait and see, mate. We'll wait and see. As I say, I expected, if you think Ken Shiro's going to beat his ass, I expected Soto to beat Butler's ass last night. Didn't happen that way. So who knows? Sometimes we just get it absolutely wrong,
Yeah, no. I know, Andy. I know. This week, though, I got the most points, though, Rob and I, since that fight with Martinez was canceled. Since Rob and I picked Stoppage for Bam, we both picked up 3 points, digging myself out of the gutter. Steve's lead over Rob narrowing to 4. Steve, are you shaking in your boots?
Yeah, I'm hoping that someone's going to push me off the top soon because I'm starting to feel the pressure a bit now. Like there's a bit of a target on my back because I'm top of I was top of Joe's prediction league as well. And when Martinez fell out, it was replaced by the Tyler Denny River Wilson Bent fight. So there's a bit of shenanigans going on with the 2 leagues here, Matty. But yeah, I'm feeling the pressure, man. I'm hoping to get.
I never picked that fight, so how did I
didn't either.
Yeah. So how did I better get full points for that win.
What the fuck, Joe Kennedy? Nobody asked me. I don't even know who those people are.
There you go. You would have picked River Wilson Bent anyway, wouldn't you, Matty?
Probably.
On his
you don't get any points because he lost.
Son of a bitch. Want to thank people that are in the chat. Sorry if I miss anybody here. I'm sure that I will. Let's see. Let's pick up one from the bottom here real quick. Hey, Jim McDonald Boxing wandered in here. Amit Sharma then to my list. Rob Barnett, M. Lithgow, Dale Baker, Johnny H.C. Nelson, Ben Russell, David Lawrence Graham. Sounds very regal. Michael Thompson, Cedric Sniff, Big A. Cedric Sniff, Big A. Perfect back-to-back there. Mark Stanton, Luke Big L, Justin Dole, Adam Hughes, James Webb, or maybe James Webby, Younger 7, Ryan Ormerod, Chase Athletics, Boxing Channel, MB, Junior Malone. I'm not going to try to pronounce your first name. Jordan Murphy, Dez, Nathan Ford, and CHR, or maybe it's Chur. I know it's not CLR because that's a cleaning product. Stands for calcium, lime, and rust. Thank you for everyone for coming in today. Yeah, Steve.
I was just going to say special shout out to Justin Dull, who's hanging around in the chat there. He's one of our nutters. He was on the Patreon call last night. He's from North Carolina. He's a bit like a Poundland Gabe, but he's bringing the analysis in Gabe's absence at the moment. So shout out to Justin.
Poundland Gabe.
Gabe's still alive, eh?
Just further proof that we're 2 countries separated by a common language. You telling a woman that you're taking her to Poundland is totally different than if I say that.
Pound Town. Nah, Justin's a good guy. Shout out to him.
So, Andy, on Saturday, are you going to be watching some German action with Evgeny Shvedenko and William Skull, both undefeated?
I don't know, mate. I mean, I've seen you guys, and I see this, the promoters, is it Aegon Sports, so there's a good chance it'll be free and available on YouTube, so I could possibly get you a link and let you watch it if you're so desperate to watch something, you're degenerates, so. I noticed Jeremy's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on next week.
Oh, and we can't forget Take Games and Chucku. Sorry about that, Take Games. Love you, man. Yeah, there's a lot of action on there. A lot of German action means different things for different people, doesn't it, Andy?
Oh, I do, without doubt, mate. Like, I dare say you both with your betting odds and that, your parlays and that, so.
I don't touch I haven't wanted to touch betting on German fights since I used to see the cards coming out in like 2005, 2010, that era. Those were some absolutely awful cards, man.
I'm telling you right now.
I've seen some trash.
This is how I can put the German cards into this context, right? If you think Sky and BT have been putting on shit shows, and some of the kind of lower tier stuff that DAZN has been putting on, like with Eddie and probably even Oscar at this point, and that outside of some of the kind of like main events that we maybe had, German boxing is literally in the slurry alongside Sky and BT, mate. That's how fucking poor it is. Even some of the guys, okay, I remember I mentioned the name, the heavyweight Peter Kadiru. Something like, I don't know, he's German champion just now. He's a heavyweight, but he's now back fighting 8-rounders against a guy who's 2-0. This guy should be pushing up to kind of European level type fights by this point now.
It's insane, eh? Like if you look at the schedule right now, worthwhile boxing events are as rare as abortions in America in the next year.
Yeah,
in the early 2000s, Andy, but German boxing was buzzing, and then Klaus-Peter Cole. First of all, I think he lost his deal with ZDF, and then he started putting his fighters in the same in the stable together against each other, and then the winner stays on, kind of thing, to keep a contract. Then he disappeared. Then Kali Sauerland, he went as well. His son's just an absolute shit show. They're no use. And then German boxing, they just have another stars coming through. Before, they were picking off guys from like Sturm, Hook, a lot of the Russians, Bosnians, Baljai, Hungarians. They weren't actually national Germans. They're not even coming through now.
Yep, they were picking up, as you say, Sturm, Bosnians, the Hungarians, the Germans, guys who were relocating to Germany, getting big, getting options as well. World title fights. I mean, was it Balotsa you mentioned there, the Hungarian? He was WBO champion.
Kali Baljai, yeah.
For about
Zolterdai was another one as well. Sturm was Adnan Katic. That was his real name. Changed it to Sturm to sound more German.
Had the Fragamini as well.
Senchenko held the belt for a while and got stopped by Malignaggi.
Yep.
That still makes me giggle.
And obviously as well, you had the Klitschko's doing their own thing, but they were still a big draw in Germany. Even at RTL were throwing like 20 million euros at a contract at them.
There was loads of heavyweights at that time, Andy. You had the likes of Taras Bidenko, Vladimir Verchis. Do you remember Denis Boitsov? He was supposed to be the next big thing, knocking people out. And then Alex Lipai stopped him, and Lipai got the shot at Klitschko instead of Boitsov.
It was a worthy venture, though, because they used to fill those soccer stadiums for those fights.
Mate, those crowds were like full at every event. Okay, I remember saying that some of it was kind of like, but kind of like champagne and prawn sandwich brigade, that type of thing. But they managed to cater to it at least. And I've been at German events before. Actually, it's fucking brilliant. Certainly completely different compared to how it gets treated here in the UK, for example. But on you go.
I was just disappointed through all the years of watching those fights from Germany. I never did figure out what the fuck McFit is.
McFit?
Yeah. They used to be on the fucking ring aprons and shit.
Oh,
or on the mats
or some sort.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck McFit is.
Yeah. But no, as I say, we're just having to replace like the big stars, Sturm, Huck, Abraham, the Klitschko's. Those were your main guys who were filling out arenas and stadiums.
Because they were all imports. There are not very many good German fighters.
Not just so much that, mate. It's the fact is, even though the Germans like adopted them as their own, and they lived in Germany, they paid their tax. Well, Sturm didn't pay his tax. I suppose that's why they ended up in jail. But what I'm saying is that they got behind them, and they've never really had to. They've not really had anybody else come through. For example, since probably Abraham retired was probably the kind of last high-profile fighter, I would say so. Maybe Sturm's fought in the last. He fought 6 months ago, whatever it was. But these guys are all washed, man.
Oh, they're done.
You've got guys
Matty,
coming
I've
to the
just cottoned
Olympics.
on. Sorry, Andy. I've just cottoned on to what you were saying, Matty. McFit. You mean the big sponsor? It's like Fitness First, it's like a fitness chain, like gyms and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Is that what you're referring to? McFit,
Yeah.
MC Fit?
Yeah, I thought it was some sort of a McDonald's sandwich that they had over there that we didn't get over here. I don't know. Well, there you go. That was we've gone down some interesting rabbit holes. German boxing in the 2000s, late 90s. That was
Marcus
fun.
Baer, Steve just mentioned him there as well. Remember he fought Danny Green possibly
Fought
twice.
Danny Green, fought Sakio Beaker, fought Richie Woodall in Telford, fought Glenn Catley, and then he got knocked out by Kessler at the end before Kessler fought Calzaghe.
Kessler was a third round knockout, brutal
That's
uppercuts.
right, yeah.
Feinotker.
That cemented the unification, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Good times.
There was always something to watch, wasn't there? On Justin
When fights
TV.
could get made as well, there was no bullshit with like networks as much, Wasn't there diluted content, shall we say?
No, it was, I'll tell you, where boxing kind of really went down the fucking tubes was when, and I, it's insane that he's making the best fights now, and they seem to be doing well. But when Al Heyman started getting fighters those huge purses on HBO that didn't deserve them, like my constant go-to is Andre Berto getting $1 million to fight Freddie Hernandez. That was like, what? Like that, like that's like the best negotiation of all time and also the worst negotiation of all time all at once. That was terrible. And it just got to a point with making the fights that there was just too much that got wrapped up into like single entities, and they weren't working across the lines just to make things go. And there's the single network contracts and things like that. And I don't know. It didn't quite do it. I thought that at times it seems like they've been collecting content all right. DAZN was better in the early days. Box Nation used to do a great job in getting shit from all around the world. But it's a bitch getting all these different fights, especially good fights. When the way that they fight, they've had to come up with all of these different dumb titles and things like that. Not just because the sanctioning bodies are corrupt, but because it doesn't matter who's number one in the rankings. If they're on Showtime and the other person's fighting Top Rank, the fight's not going to fucking happen. So eat shit. So they're like, well, I guess we'll give so-and-so the number one contender, the gold belt or the, whatever they have to say to make it a title that's not the title. And go that way. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know. It's competition is good, but when the competition comes together to create the best product, when there's no other route to go, it's even better.
Matty, sorry to be juvenile again after your good little speech there, but Johnny Horsecock Nelson reminds me of peak German boxing, Sven Ottke with Kondomi, the condom brand, temporary tattooed on his back. And as he sweated, you'd see it gently disappearing throughout the fight. And then I think they banned them in the end. Hopkins had one against Trinidad when they fought, but yeah, he always had Kondomi tattooed on his back.
See if you watch some of the Polish shows, actually, they still have that tattoo.
Oh, do they? Right?
Spectacular on Wednesday, like complete mess, just like a fucking full body, like advert,
God.
I guess getting back into the fights, you know what's going to happen here, Steve, is when we get to the fights that are for the predictions. As soon as we get done with it, Rob's going to pop in here. You know as well.
Yeah, and then we'll end up going to like 11:15.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, we'll try. We'll start out with Saturday, Queensland, Australia. Cruiserweight belt on the line. Maris Bradis taking on the undefeated 21-0 Jai Apata, who does have some amateur background, not entirely without. I think we might have briefly discussed this fight when it looked like it was happening in May. Didn't get anywhere. Steve, do you have any particular opinion on this fight whatsoever? Bradis is getting old, man. That's the one kind of unknown factor here.
Yeah, there's some interesting things going on in this fight, actually. First of all, Bradis is getting old. He's not as active as he used to be. So Father Time could catch up on him. He's up against a young, hungry, undefeated guy. He's 6'3" upper tire. He's a southpaw. He's a bit of a unit. I have had a look at him, actually. He puts his punches together pretty well. He was in against a guy called Kelleher, a bit of a human punching bag, but he managed to give him a bit of a beating. And if Bradis isn't on his game, I think it's going to be pretty close, especially given the fact he's away from home as well. That said, Bradis did deal with the greatest southpaw cruiserweight of the generation in Usyk. Well, I said deal with him. I mean, he took him to a majority decision closer than anyone else did at the weight. So he managed to find gaps in the guard. So if you can do that against Usyk, then you'd imagine he'd be able to do it against Opataya. But Opataya has things going for him. The home crowd, he's young, he's hungry. Bradis is getting older. I think Bradis will win on points, but it's going to be a narrow fight. I don't think I'll see Opataya getting stopped either, because apparently he's been in camp with Deontay Wilder a few times. And if Wilder keeps asking you back, he must have something to offer. And it's safe to say he's going to have had his chin checked at some point if he's sparring with Deontay on a regular basis. And like I said, they're asking him back again. So he must have a decent beard. So if Bradis can't hurt him and Opataya's got a decent enough engine given his youth over the 12 rounds, things can get pretty interesting pretty quickly in this fight. So I'm looking forward to it. Going for Bradis on points, but not as comfortable as people think. I think it's going to be narrow margins, and Opataya might give him a bit of a fight. If you can take Deontay Wilder's punches in sparring, then there's a chance he's going to be able to take Bradis as well.
Steve going Bradis on points. Andy, how do you have this one for our prediction league, where you're trailing Steve by 8? Didn't pick up any ground, didn't lose any this last week.
To be honest, mate, I've not had a good chance to have a look at this Opataya, to be honest. So maybe just kind of defer to Steve, to be honest with you. But what I will say is about Bradis as such, the talk was really to kind of like go up to heavyweight after he'd fought. I want to say it was Kowaki, I think it was Kowaki. Obviously, COVID hit. He still got a belt at cruiserweight. He wasn't really, excuse me. He wasn't really a name. Wasn't a force up at heavyweight. So really, I go back to the saying. There's some people who transcend the belts. And there's guys like Bradis who need the belt to make himself relevant. And if he loses this, he just loses all relevancy as well, to be honest, because I'm sure he's also the Ring Magazine champion. So what a chance for Opataya, by the way. Make himself classed as potentially as the man at 200 pounds would be incredible, actually. Come from basically fighting, I believe, domestic level fights, regional type fights, to beating supposedly one of the best cruiserweights of the last decade, possibly, because there was a time, for example, he was in good fights. Duradola was his kind of like coming out fight. He's got that fantastic highlight reel knockout of Manny Char at heavyweight with the uppercut. So he is to be respected, and I was ringside for the Usyk fight as well. Could have went either way that fight, to be honest with you. Gave Usyk all he could handle, but as you say, he's up in age now, travelling. He's not going to get any favours possibly, but if he's clean about his work, they can't job him. It's that simple. But if this guy's been sparring with Wilder, taking those shots, I'll probably side with Steve's comments to say that Bradis wins at 1 points, because as well, I did see his last fight against Arthur Mann. It does say a TKO 3 on his resume, at least. Not, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a TKO as such. Back in the day, that would be classed as a retirement, because it was a bad cut in Arthur Mann, to be honest. There was a bad cut on Bradis, sorry, I'm sure it was. So that's the reason why that's a TKO 3 on that resume or something. So, yep, I'll go points for Bradis.
Andy going with points for Bradis as well. God, it's just there's got to be an upset somewhere, right? There's got to be an upset somewhere.
You're still chasing it.
Yeah, I am. I'm going with Opataya. Let's see here. On points, possibly disputed. Yeah, possibly going to be disputed.
I wouldn't be surprised, Matty, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all a matter of getting to that final bell, right? And somebody has to redeem Australia after the Cambosa's performance against Haney. Why not this guy?
That's true. Thing is, Opataya, his level of opposition, it hasn't been great. He has 17, 18 knockouts maybe, but against who? Can he crack Bradis' chin? There's a lot of questions. Once Bradis catches him, in a real fight, real gloves, has he felt anything like that before? There's a lot of variables there, but I just think, given that Bradis is getting on a bit and Opataya's hungry, and given his sparring and decent amateur record by all accounts, Matty, I think it's going to be close enough, actually.
Yeah, it could well be. And I think if Freitas knocks him out, it's probably going to be early, because it'll be something that Opatai has never run into before. It'll be the surprise factor.
The right hand is a good weapon, isn't it, for Brady's?
Very much so. And if when it comes to punchers, sometimes after you felt the power, maybe you go down and you survive it, you're able to weather the storm a little bit. Whether that's you roll with it or it's just not as shocking to you. So if Freitas is going to pick up this by knockout, I think it's going to be early. If it goes to the cards, he could find himself shocked, disappointed, maybe feeling screwed.
Yep.
So we'll go for the domestic screw job on this one. Domestic screw job. And then hopping over, it's a good thing. I swear to God, on ESPN, this said this was also in Australia, and I'm like, what? That's pretty weird. And then I went over to BoxRec, and it said Wembley, and I'm like, thank Christ, because it would have made no sense. Looking on, just let's bring them a show. Yay, Australia! But we have a card headlined by Joe Joyce and Christian Hammer, and also a 175-pound scrap between Callum Johnson and Igor Mikhalkin, who I vaguely remember as one of Kovalev's many victims during his time of destruction. But leading up to that Joyce fight, got a little bit of an interesting 122-pound scrap going on. Jason Cunningham taking on Zolane Tete. This will be in our predictions. Cunningham, 7 straight wins since he lost to Mick Conlon. And Tete has only fought 4 rounds in the last 30 months. Steve, what are you thinking as far as this fight goes?
Kind of thinking out loud, actually, having a look at this, Matty. Same as you. Cunningham's on a good run. He's having a bit of a swan song of his career. He's Yafai. That was an important upset win. Brad Foster as well burst his bubble. And then he beat that La Courvier. I think it was a body shot in the last fight. He wasn't in any great shakes. Yeah, MB, I agree. I like this fight too. As for Tete, he's a bit of a beast when he came over and knocked out Paul Butler. That was quite a long time ago. He's been a little bit inactive since then. In between Aloyan and Casimero knocked him out, had a couple of years off, fought that Idi Kayomba. I think this is Cunningham's fight to win, actually. I think Tete, 34 years of age as well. I'm going for Cunningham on points. I think it will last the distance. I don't think Tete is going to knock him out. Cunningham's on a good run. Thinking of what Cunningham's like beard-wise, actually. Has anyone ever knocked him out? He's been knocked out once. Let's have a look here live. Reece Blotti back in 2017. I'm going for Cunningham on points, Matty. It's a good fight, actually. Yeah, I think Tete's had his day, and Cunningham's definitely a man on the ascendancy. So I'm going with form here. Points for Cunningham.
All right. Andy, are you going the same direction as Steve Cunningham? Not much of a puncher.
Yeah, probably foresight everything Steve said, mate, to be honest with you. It's one of those classic type fights for Tete. It's going to, certainly middle of the road type fight for him. That bad knockout against Casimero a few years back. He hasn't really been active as such. You see, Cunningham seems to be picking up titles. He's picking up wins. He's, like British, Commonwealth, and European champion. So it's it's not to be sniffed at. So yeah, I'll go with Cunningham on points as well. Probably slightly fresher of the two as such as well. I'm trying to think the same as Steve, actually, if he's been properly chin checked, like as an ice dropped many times in fights. I don't think he has, to be honest with you. So
been around a while, Andy, as well, hasn't he, against a good level of fighters? He's like a Maxi Hughes kind of a guy. I mean, you look at his record, you see the losses, and you see how many times they've been beaten by guys. But he's earned his stripes, hasn't he? He's matured into a really good fighter.
Exactly. I mean, he's got a loss to Khalid Yafai, who was like a world champion for or a world belt holder for a number of defences. He's been in with Reece Bellotti, Conlon, Jordan Gill. These are guys who are like solid domestic level guys, and it's to become British, Commonwealth, and European champion. Sometimes you've got to go through guys at that level. He's done that over the last year or 2, 3 years. So I think he's probably hit him at the right time. His boxing's always sometimes just about timing as well, and this could be this time. So I think maybe is Tete ranked still world ranked at this point? Give me a second. I'm just going to pull up the rankings here. I just want to see if it's some sort of eliminator of sorts.
I've seen Cunningham fight a few times. I'm just struggling a little bit to think of anything specific, but he has been dropping guys a fair bit. And if Tete is over the hill, you know, he could get that stoppage.
So Cunningham's ranked 6 with the BF. He is 14 with the BC and 13 with the BO. Clearly hasn't paid Mendoza's back pocket to get into the BA rankings at this point. So yeah, listen, I think if he wins this fight, I would not be surprised to see him maybe get punched right up into the top 3, top 2. You think about it, you know, if he wins this fight, I think put him if you want to see if he's at some sort of world level, if he wins this fight against Teti, for example, I would try him maybe against the likes of Neri or Ronny Rios for last night.
That'd be interesting enough. You know what? I think that he's going to. I think he's going to get the little stoppage here. I think Tete might be over the hill. You know, if he's been getting just random knockdowns here and there, he's just being sneaky. You never know. So I'm going to go with it. Let's go with the crazy stuff again. Let's go with Cunningham by stoppage. I like that.
I just see a comment in the chat there, actually, guy saying, is he in the country yet? Hopefully there's not any issues in trying to get him to the UK.
Huh. Well, that would be interesting. That would add to the whole idea here. Right on. I might get lucky. Wow. Still no Rob. Maybe midway through the Bellews. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, part-timer, isn't he, Rob?
I'm telling you. Heavyweight fight, Joe Joyce, Christian Hammer. Stay busy fight for Joyce. Andy, what do you think? I mean, it's a Joyce fight. He should break him down with the jab, stop in the last half of the fight. Is that the direction you'll be going to on that?
Last half? No, mate. I'm expecting him to do it. I'm expecting him to do it early, to be honest with you. I'm trying to remember last time I seen Hammer fight, and to be honest with you, I think he's been taking up more L's than anything else. I mean, Tony Yoka's beat him.
Excuse me?
What?
Tony who?
Tony Mediocre, sorry.
There you go.
If you think that's how, I'm sure he fought him, did he know? But yeah, look, he's certainly not won anything meaningful in terms of fights. I think, I'm trying to remember, they don't fight Hughie Fury as well. I'm expecting Joyce to come in here and do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it in one round, to be honest with you, mate. Again, as I says, Joyce might need a couple of rounds just to warm it up a wee bit and just step into his shots, just keep the punches moving. And eventually he'll shovel something into something, and I would either say he knocks him out or he quits in the ring, something along those lines. I'll go Joyce by stoppage, run about the fourth, but I would not be surprised if he does it way earlier than that, to be honest with you. Who was he meant to be fighting? Joe Joyce? It was Joe Parker, wasn't it?
Yeah. Then Parker signed with Probellum, did he? And now it's out the window?
No, he signed with Ben Shalom. There's no agreement between Boxer and Probellum, Matty. Wash your mouth out.
Oh dear. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
You end up getting sued, mate.
Yeah. Oh well, give us something to do, I suppose.
That's the time, you know.
Yes, same as Andy. For the risk of being boring here, I'm going to go for the same as Andy. Hammer has no business being in the ring now. He was a decent name back in the day. He was last seen losing to Frank Sanchez, according to BoxRec. I don't even remember that fight. But yeah, Joyce, hopefully put the foot down a bit earlier, get him out there in 4 or 5 rounds, save us the tedium, and then move on to more meaningful fights. It's a decent fill-in. At least he's active. That's the main thing. But Hammer offers nothing for me now. Hughie got rid of him in 5. Joyce needs to be doing around the same if he's going to be enhancing his reputation.
Do you remember Tyson Fury beat him like exclusively as a southpaw? But one of the worst fights you'll fucking see, honestly.
That was Hammer's breakthrough, wasn't it? It was a Box Nation show or something like that. I think he fought him. Yeah. He's been dragged out so many times. Luis Ortiz, they dragged him out to fight him as well a few years ago. Yeah, no interest in Hammer now.
Beat Michael Sprott. Beat Erkin Tepper by a split decision, but there's possibly juiced up Tepper at that point. Beat David Price. Knocked him out, actually. And I think Price actually had him done in that fight.
Probably.
Hammer Price, I don't even remember that fight.
Yeah, that actually. I just seen it there. I was like, I need to go and watch that. Knew the ends of the knockout, and you see somebody get knocked in. Yeah, I'll maybe go back and watch it.
When even your knockouts are not memorable, well. Life is a struggle. I'm almost tempted to put this in there at like a 3.5 over under as a backup fight, unless in case one of these ones gets fucking canceled, as seems to happen every damn week.
Are you going to set the bar at 3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay, I'll say over. Yeah,
Over?
I'll go over. I'm going to go to 4th round, so
Yeah.
I'll go over.
Over as well. I'm thinking 4 or 5. He takes a couple of rounds to warm up, doesn't he, Joyce?
Yeah.
Okay. And since these are only for a point, so it's just a little punt. I'll go under. All right. I'll say that Andy talked me into the early knockout. Andy even said 1st round at one point.
I did say.
He twisted my arm. Yeah.
Horsecock here saying Big Pricey was in control against Hammer, then gassed out and quit. It's starting to come back to me a bit now, Andy. That was the gassing out phase of Pricey's career.
That's right. About 4 or 5 rounds, he'd be all out of gas.
Yeah.
Was I right enough saying that he dropped him in that fight?
I can't remember. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch it.
I can remember once Price, when he was coming up, he was fighting some sort of club fighter. What was the guy? Tony, some big stiff idiot, just big skinny guy. I want to try and pull up his record actually, but it was early half of Price's career, and he iced him with this fucking quality right hand. Tom Dallas, that was his name. Iced him with a right hand, and Kelly Maloney, as she's now known, was ringside saying as he's the next heavyweight champion. Bellew. Remember Bellew with the comments and that as well. The heir to the Klitschko throne, mates. Oh, they were elite times.
For Price, man, he was an absolute banger. Like, he could punch like a mule, but he just had the lung capacity of an asthmatic beetle, past about round 3.
Remember had Big John McDermott doing iced him with 1 round or something?
Oh, that's right. But he iced Big Audley, didn't
he? I think he did. 1 round. That's what it was. Down heavily to
Osborne Mashimana, the big South African for the Commonwealth. I remember that one too.
He was also involved in one of the greatest. Well, no him as such, but his opponent was involved in one of the greatest all-time interviews, post-fight interviews.
Tony Thompson, baby.
That's what I'm talking about. The wife's gonna need a wheelchair in the morning. He's gonna be crippled. Oh yeah.
That defeated Frank Maloney hard, didn't it?
Packed everything in there. Literally packed it on.
And wasn't the second fight like a fucking repeat of the first?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah, I remember, man. I don't remember the post-fight interview being as good though. That's
lasting longer.
You can't repeat a performance like that. That's the problem. It's one of those things. You try to duplicate it, it's going to be terrible. Like. I learned today there was a TV movie, a sequel of The Jerk in 1983. Like, how fucking awful could that be? No Steve Martin. You can't duplicate it. You can't duplicate it.
See the thing that was just talking about Tony Thompson. I just pulled up his record there, and I actually remember this fight or fights after the Price fight. Right, so he actually got the final eliminator for the IBF belt against Kubrat Pulev, and then he lost that by decision. He then goes to Turkey and he beats Orlanier Solis by a split decision. He then gets a Kalas Takam fight, and then he gets a rematch with Solis again and fucking beats him in the rematch. Refused to come out the corner, actually, Solis, according to this. So I just good to kind of walk down that lane again. It's just remember some of these fucking names.
Tony was a great heavyweight gatekeeper. He's a great heavyweight gatekeeper. He did exactly what he was supposed to do.
He was the one that Klitschko knocked out late with was it Chet left hook? Or by left hook.
Didn't he end up fighting Klitschko twice? Didn't he get himself back into He got himself back into the mix for a second.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he was totally lethargic.
Do you remember? And everyone was like, "Oh, complete waste of time."
That's right. Because it was in Switzerland. Was that not meant to be? Was that not meant to be the Klitschko fight against Hay? I want to say.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, there's that one. There was an interesting era of with the Klitschkos, with just some weird shit going on. Like, one of the most horrible things I've ever seen in my life was the referee allowing Shannon Briggs to hear the final bell against.
But you know what the ironic thing about that was? The referee was Ian John Lewis, who wouldn't stopped anybody else on a dime. Yeah, he let Shannon Briggs get their shit beaten out of him for 12 rounds.
Somebody bet Klitschko on points.
He put him in the hospital for a fucking week.
He was 10 shades of fucked up, man.
who remembers the pictures of like, let's go, champ, lying in his bed, like literally, like he's got a fat lip, literally, like he said, Botox injections. He's got a fucking chin like a doorstep. His eyes are all swollen shut, and then to top it off, his fucking manager nicks his purse. He got beat off for nothing.
If ever anybody needed Ian John Lewis to jump in front of them and wave that fight off, it was Shannon Briggs.
Fucking exactly, I know. You look at the Purenzo, and by the way, just on Tony Thomas, just to finish off, do you ken by the time I just seen it here? See, by the time he fought Klitschko that second time, he was ranked top 10 heavyweight at that time. Tony Thompson. Just shows you what a comeback that was.
It was the IBF. He kept getting in with Andy. I think it was the IBF, you know. Mm-hmm.
Aye.
Just one of those guys that kept finding a way to get into his title chances. You know, they just can't seem to ever get over that hump, unfortunately.
Tony Broke Hip Thompson.
Man, and I'll tell you what, that's about all that there is on there, unless you guys think Callum Johnson against Igor McCaskill is going to be any interesting. That's about it.
I don't know. I don't know about McCaskill at this point, to be honest. But I think he's definitely faded. Johnson. When did he last fight? Can I remember? Actually, just off the top of their heads, I didn't even check this fight out.
Less than a year ago, I think.
Was it
Callum Johnson?
I think he's had like 3 fights since he got whacked by Beterbiev.
Right. So, look, McCaskill, I've seen him on the road. I've seen him get knocked out. He's at a point in his career at this point that he is leading a gatekeeper. He is a journeyman at this point. I mean, with that French dude, if it can stop me, or you're retiring after getting beat up for 7 rounds off a French dude, I think that kind of puts a writing on the wall for me, especially because the opponent's been French and that. But Callum Johnson, just inactivity's just killed everything about him, because obviously it says that even with the Beterbiev defeat, he wasn't really disgraced as such, because obviously they fucking knocked the guy down. And look at Beterbiev, looks like he's going to be his unified champ, but it looks like he could be like the man in the division if he can get the Bivol fight sorted out and win that. But he's just fought. His last 2 opponents been pretty poor. Shawnee Monaghan, I know he had a wee bit of kind of purple patch or something or whatever in that, but he's done him in 3 rounds, but he's done nothing really much since, or much note over the last 2 and a bit years, to be honest with you. So he really needs to kind of win this fight and win it, looking good at least. But I think McCaskill should be, made to order for me, to be honest with you. Maybe stops and I'll go 6 rounds.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, to be fair, Callum Johnson did make Rob's Saturday nights better.
He certainly did. Oh, Callum. Yeah, he should get rid of Michalkin. Michalkin's a former drugs cheat as well, and he went completely negative against Kovalev. He's done now, lost to Borderleak in his last fight. Johnson needs to look better than his last fight. Get rid of Michalkin, knock out, and then move on to bigger things. No more messing around.
Yeah. It's I still think Beterbiev's his own animal. I still think that Joe Smith Jr. was there for the picking for him in January, and what do you have to cancel for COVID or some bullshit? So that was kind of a missed opportunity. Now he gets to fight this dude. So lucky him. But man, I guess we've held out for Rob as long as we can, Steve. So I'll turn it over to you for the Belly of the Week.
Thank you very much, Matty. Rob might turn up, he might not. Who knows? We're on to episode 480 anyway. Andy, Matty, and me, Steve, leading us into the Belly of the Week. I tell you what, this is a Bellew character, all right. Derek Chisora, take aim, sent this to me last week. Didn't get it up in time, so to speak. But Derek is busy preparing for his big fight, carnage, as Eddie's calling it, against Kubrat Pulev, by engaging with a bit of local vermin.
Our motherfucker is back. I'm gonna get him this time. Motherfucker. He is back. Hi. I phoned Eddie on.
Yeah, what was the problem?
I got bit by a squirrel.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, ow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, badly. Yeah.
Oh, are we this place for that? Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel bite, yeah.
Great.
What the fuck? He actually caught a squirrel and it actually bit him. How the hell?
So now the Pulev fight's going to be off because he got fucking rabies.
Oh,
man.
silver lining, mate. That's what we're talking about. That's what we need. We need to do this.
Their first fight was so awful when I was watching. Like they had a preview for it or something like that come up on DAZN when I was
Get my
watching.
face off as well.
And it said Pulev Chisora 2, and I'm like, they fought before.
But the thing is, mate, what is that? Is that a 10-8 round to the squirrel or what? 10-7 possibly?
think so.
He's put him in hospital, mate. That's a possibly a 10-6. That's
What a clown. As if the NHS hasn't got enough to do. He's fucking running around getting bitten by squirrels. He's off his
Exactly.
Someone needs to who's in Derek Chisora's network needs to get with them, and they need to go to YouTube and check out squirrel catapults, and you can also find schematics for them, and you just like bait them, and you could like fling squirrels like 40, 50 feet. And eventually, like, you know, if they keep getting in your shit and they keep getting flung, they just kind of get tired of it and they'll leave your property. And they're squirrels, so they're used to like flying over the, you know, long distances like that and shit. You probably don't kill them. So, you know, if you're an animal lover, you feel good and they quit getting your squirrel shit. You know, so
Matty, imagine after all the stuff we've said on this show that we get cancelled for animal cruelty reasons.
That'd be like very, very fucked up by YouTube because it is on YouTube where I've seen the squirrel catapults, Steve. I'm just discussing their content.
Oh, no, but that doesn't get you out of things. You know what YouTube are like.
Fucking bastards.
Marty Smith, continuing the Chisora chat, he says, just seen Chisora talking about smelly pussy and having a hard-on for Pulev in their shite face-off on Matchroom tonight. Surely a late value of the week contender.
I never saw it, man. I'm not going to even bother watching that fucking monstrosity. Fucking hell. But if he's dropping lines like that, I might be persuaded, but I need to be high as fuck.
Kubat might think he's with Jenny Sushi again and get stuck into Chisora.
Mate, I wonder how much that's cost him. He's still fighting. He's even taking that Triller cash. Now he's over here taking... What's this? DAZN? Is it pay-per-view?
Yeah. No, I don't think it's pay-per-view.
So no, but even it's a headliner, so it'll still be headlining money he's taking.
Absolutely. Johnny Nelson says, seen Chisora lately. He looks about 60 and permanently confused.
Dyeing the beard isn't helped him. Like he needs to sack that off immediately. He can't be going about like that, mate. Makes him look ancient. Makes him look like he's ready for the box.
Oh dear. Anyway, let's get on to our nominations. This was sent in last week. Again, I neglected to mention it, so sorry about that, whoever sent it in. The Gad passing on his experience, grooming a new generation of journalists, including this fella. I can't remember what his name is, but there you go.
Adam Cattrall, isn't it?
Oh, is that Cattrall? Right. I thought it was the other one, yeah. Talk Sport, the home of champions. All right, that's where the Gad with his vest, his Illuminati tattoo.
Fucking stay of that. Honestly, man, he's actually, look at him. Look at him. Who goes about with wearing the keychain at that age?
Well, you know, it is the Gad after all. Anyway, moving on. Lee the Bald Guy. Ebony Bridges has had quite the week. She was showing her Cookie Monster pajamas. Lee the Bald Guy says she wishes Magic Mike was eating her cookie right now. Good night, buddy. I'll tell you what. These boys, they're going for it, including this slow month for IFL. The best of Ebony Bridges stripping off and weighing in for boxing purposes only. Content warning. There she is again. Quite a few people nominating this for Ebony Bridges. But there's a bit of honesty. We like a bit of honesty, as Derek would say, Andy. You've got to be honest, haven't you? And Ebony went on later to say, who loves summer? I may have forgot how big they are when I ordered this recent bikini. And Joe jumped in and says, wow, Ebony, just had a wank over this.
mate, we will get banned again for sexual nudity content again when they get this fucking off the screens pretty quick. But yeah, look, listen, seeing any other fucking profession, man, about outrage about fucking IFL putting that video, fucking generalising that woman. But you know, end of the day, the truth's the truth. So.
What the fuck, man? What the fuck is wrong with these losers?
Ebony
loves it though, Matty, man. The thirst is unreal. It's like the Gobi Desert.
If you see some of the characters getting their fucking regalia off her, mate, like stuff their pants and that.
I think she loves it because they're such fucking tool bags, and it's just funny to think this guy thinks that for some reason letting Ebony Bridges know that he's spunked into his belly button is gonna make her like DM him and say, "Come over here, big boy."
The thing is, right? See, the thing is, see when they meet Ebony Bridges, right? I bet you any money when they go home at night and look at themselves in the mirror, they fucking look at themselves and say to themselves, "Yeah, I'm the fucking man," right? I'm telling you, everybody's done it, and they're no fucking any different. They be fucking perverts, man. That's fucking outrageous. I was thinking about that guy fucking standing there with the trunks, with the fucking squidger-looking face. He's got these fucking picture tin. What a helmet, man! What an absolute helmet.
Oh, Ebony, she's bringing a bit of joy to the boxing fans around the world. We thank her for that. Johnny E. Scott is our next nomination. He says, random Monday night thought. Punches to the forearms should be counted in boxing as scoring shots. The more you punch someone's arms, the less they can use them. So their defense is weaker or their attack is weaker. Example, Canelo versus Mundo. Anyway, enjoy your night.
Who is that?
Johnny E. Scott.
Oh, don't know who that is, man. Fucking hell.
Punches to the arms. Well, we've discussed that before, haven't we? We'll move on, I suppose. Liam Wynn, regular contributor, bailiwick for Amir Khan, flirting with a woman and not realising he was live on TV during the Boxer card. Chima versus Greener fight. Round 3 of 4. Amir, quick hands.
That's fantastic. Is Liam not got a timestamp in round 3?
Yeah, yeah. You get a B- on this one, Liam. You would have gotten an A if you would have, told us like 13 minutes 40 seconds in or something. Yeah. But not bad, not bad.
Good try from Liam. He's trying his best anyway. Also trying his best is this guy, Dermot Sherry, has sent in. Well, it's Dominic Henry who tagged us amongst many other people. Joel Miller to fight in a KO to drugs festival. Couldn't think of a more worthy participant. Hashtag Belly of the Week. Thanks for that, Dermot.
He weighed 342 pounds, Steve. 342 pounds. Yeah. Sorry, that's my nomination. Actually, I swear Steve. I saw that when I was looking at it. I had to get that out there since he's up there.
Yeah,
342 fucking pounds.
Steve, I've just put Derek Cooper's tweet in the chat there, mate. If you can add that up as well, just for a bit of context, mate, it would be fucking brilliant because you see him on the scales, you see that fucking belly and the man boobs, what he's got in his hands, mate. It just makes so much sense that guy was on the fucking juice.
If he's coming at that weight though, Matty, that's ridiculous, man. He's got no shame, has he? I suppose he's a parody. He's a bit like Lovejoy, Matty. Christopher Lovejoy. He's like a parody character.
It's just beginning to get really ridiculous. And I was like, him at 290 pounds, the PEDs are not he looked like a beast. He's definitely one of the more disappointing heavyweights for me in the last few years.
There we are, Andy. I've managed to cut it for you.
Yes, look at that.
Look what happens when he can't have fucking drugs. It's like he KO'd drugs, but he took on ice cream. This is fucked up.
Look at the kebab, man. The kebab looks amazing. You just need some fucking garlic fucking mayonnaise with that, man. It'd be tremendous.
Good old Joel.
Hey, Rob.
Oh, Rob's on the call with us. Good evening, Roberto. Yeah. How are you? Yeah. You there, Rob?
Hey, he's check the private chat there real quick.
No, can you hear me or no?
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, sorry, I was on the dodgy headphones. I was saying I fucking had planned on being on this pod from the start, and just family want to fucking hang out with you and all, don't they? It's a fucking pain in the ass. Fucking don't they know have Ricky Gravel?
You need to put a stop to that, Rob.
Keep happy. Fucking demanding my time.
Have you considered being less likable, and then they would want less of your time?
It's a fucking gift and a curse, Matty. What can I do? You know what
I mean? Well, Rob, we're halfway through Belly of the Week. I'll finish Belly of the Week, and then I'll bounce, and Matty can take over and talk to you in more depth. How about that?
Oh, great. Thanks to you. He's telling that fucking last part of the show.
It's gonna, since we can't do Sundays with Katie because you're a selfish dick, it's going to be Rob's corner.
Katie was in Wexford CBS yesterday, by the way. This is getting a bit fucking too close for home. She was spotted in Wexford with Eddie Bulger. Wex 40, and who's the German national coach. So yeah, fucking watch this space.
You'd be like a Tourette's kid. You'd end up fucking going up to her and be like, "Hi, Katie, my name is Rob."
Part of me would want to test the water all right there to see what does she have a sense of humor? I don't know.
I'd say she would. Anyway, sense of humour for this one here. Vanderpool has nominated, double nomination, Ryan Hart, Bruce Lee versus Mike Tyson, both in their prime. What would have happened? Give me details. Pizza Hobo X says, I'd put my money on Tyson, but I would never count Lee out. That being said, weight difference makes it an unfair matchup, in my opinion. Put Lee against Mayweather, and we would have a much more interesting fight. This is quite the rabbit hole.
I'll tell you what, I already know the answer to this because we did an in-depth analysis on this outside my house in 1987. Me and the lads on the street, like, and we came to the consensus that Bruce Lee be winning until Mike Tyson hit him with a box. So it's hard to argue against that one. Like, isn't it really? Like, that's set in stone, isn't it? So
I actually favor Bruce Lee in that matchup. Like, he had to slow himself down just so cameras could capture him.
There's a lot of variables. Like, you'd say Tyson, Bruce Lee be winning until Tyson catch him. But then what if Bruce Lee tastes his own blood and go, oh, tastes his own blood, and it's like, freaking the fuck out. You don't know what's going to happen then. You know what I mean?
Dude, I have seen him fuck up everybody from Chuck Norris to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The guy was not to be fucked with.
Good old Bruce Lee. From one circus to the other, Michael has nominated Prime Quote. Here he is, Clarissa Shield Street. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but she's had a street named after Clarissa. Looks like they're having great fun there. I'm loving the blue hair, Andy. She's looking well, the Quote.
Yeah, she's okay. She's
getting plus
that's got to be a wig though, eh?
Anyway,
no, it's no, mate, because I know that's fake. That's a wig.
Hey, Rob, it's Big Kim.
Big Kim Rodney.
Godly. Well, we like to keep things topical on this show, Matty. So here's AB. Without abortions, I would have almost 30 kids. Heartbreak. Hashtag still adjusting to fame.
Can't touch that one in the room, mate.
If there's somebody that you need to row in on fucking Roe versus fucking Wade, it's definitely Adrian Broner, innit? He's the first person you want to get on the line.
Hey, Rob, just be glad that you live in a more socially liberal country than I do.
Yeah, it's fucking there's fucking features and benefits for everywhere, I suppose.
Which one of you guys is sponsoring me for citizenship? I've made it 37 years and I don't want to test the waters.
You come and live in one of my barns, Matty.
Yeah, you'd love it.
Yes.
Man. You'd love it, Matty.
I'll live in
Wexford.
I'll live in. Is Wexford better than living with feral cats in Steve's barn?
Don't know. There's a lot of fucking similarities, to be honest with you.
Feral kids, let alone
feral cats. Exactly.
Anyway,
when your car watch my stuff, man, no problem.
Tim Boxeo. This is how you come to the ring in Germany. Didn't manage to get it cut. It wouldn't cut for some reason, but David Alman nominated this. You see it, Andy? Drives up and gets chopped up.
That was the WBU title card I was talking about, mate. So this is what happened. Is some fucking old ancient football stadium, and it was the fucking practically the ring was the other side the other side of the pitch. So I think get the fucking car driving across. Lazy bastard. This is a fucking run across the pitch, mate. Lazy cunt.
Oh yeah, try and get that one for next week, maybe. Captain Chunk has nominated Rick Glazer. Happy birthday. Hashtag Daniel Kinnahan. Hashtag boxing.
Give what I done. I quote tweeted that to the FBI. He came back calling me a fucking rat.
Hey.
He hasn't a fucking chat, has he, Glazer? Like, he hasn't got a clue how to fucking read the room at all. Like,
he never took that well at all, mate. But he never blocked me. So the FBI made me want to look at him a wee bit.
Well, I hope he's not booking any flights soon. Let's put it that way.
He's not going anywhere. Like, he's probably hiding in his fucking mother's basement somewhere.
Glazer's a nutcase, man. He's in the right sport anyway.
Win the pod.
We should do. Declan's nominated this one, DAZN. I think they're troll. Count this. These fighters born in 2000 aren't going away anytime soon. Xander Zayas, Jesse Rodriguez, Diego Pacheco, Campbell Hatton.
Fuck's sake. Rodriguez would murder every one of them, by the way. I'm telling you right now. Especially Hatton. Pacheco wasn't great in his last fight, and Zayas is a prospect.
Isn't the idea of Campbell Hatton not going away really, really depressing?
Yeah, he's going to be here to stay for a long time.
We got your fucking schedule sorted for the next 6 years. Fucking hell.
You should fight his dad.
We'll never forget.
You should fight his dad. That's what you should do.
Oh, God.
I hope that's the end fucking goal for one of these juniors. That they fucking just end up fighting her out, lads, at the end of it when they're all fucking fucked out, looking for a handout.
Good old zone.
The good news is considering that Kinahan's is locked up, there's getting locked up. There's going to be less chance of these guys getting a cocaine addiction over the coming years. So better odds on them.
Great bunch of lads, fully endorsed. DAZN Boxing again here. Hashtag Usyk Joshua 2 in Jeddah. True Billy Bell 79 says Beterbiev will knock out these two guys in the same night. Michael Thompson has nominated him for that one. Good old Billy Bellend. Anyway,
why does Usyk look like he's auditioning for the Ukrainian Cypress Hill?
Mate, I'm telling you right now, Usyk. Did anybody see the video? Or the promo that he did, the two of them in the ring, and Usyk actually just cuts off the side, starts dancing about the fucking place, and Josh was just looking at the floor. What a fucking guy he is! I'm telling you, Usyk is going to win this easy.
He's making the moves of a bet man, as they say in the traveller community. He's a bet man, Anthony Joshua, isn't he? Eddie, let him off the leash again, pal, will you? Fucking let him off the leash and let him say what he wants to say about Big Meech and all. Don't be trying to censor him. You're fucking... Every time you have him sticking to the script, he just sounds like a fucking robotic moron. Like he's doing some promo this week with JD Sports, and it was like, yeah, so I took a L. I took a L because the guy wanted what I had. And we spoke about that earlier. He wanted what I had, and I just didn't push it enough. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Fucking absolute trite nonsense. Just fucking let him off the leash again. Let him come in, flip the fucking table over, say free Big Meech, and let's have it.
I'm from their cloth.
Yeah, let's stop fucking having him fucking trying to pretend to be a PR robot. He's going to short circuit again. There's too much pressure for him. Let him be himself, Ed. Even it.
PR robot. Good old AJ.
Too ferocious.
Too ferocious. Too competitive.
There's no any fights for you, mate. If you lose this one.
DAZN standard bearer. Only Eddie could sign the man as the standard bearer of the channel who's just about to get beaten in a couple of months' time.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh, by the way, see people going on about Jesse Rodriguez being signed by Eddie. He's also signed with Tekken. So Mr. Honda's also got a is also a promoter with him as well, so just to let everybody know that.
Mr. Han, we're back to fucking Bruce Lee again.
Exactly.
Mr. Han, man.
Does Tekken have Ioka?
He do, I think he do.
Oh! So, I want that fight more than any of them. I think Ioka's closer to his best than the rest right now. Anyways, back to value.
When Rob came out with that Bruce Lee comment, I'm thinking about fucking, what's his name? Locks Talking to Smoking Barrels. Oh, the guy does.
Big top. I don't care if you're Muhammad Ali, fucking Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. I don't care. I don't care if you're Muhammad. I'm hard. Bruce fucking Lee.
Oh, that's right.
He can't change fighters. So Brick top man.
That big top, Frank Warren.
Brilliant. That wasn't it. What was it called? It was Snatch.
Snatch. Yeah, that was Snatch. Yeah, that was. Snatch. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Watch your mouths.
Oh, Snatch, yeah, flip me going to get cancelled again. Anyway, final one here. Wilder's right hand. The only person that can beat Beterbiev, in my opinion, right now, is Boo Boo Andrade. Dude is very underrated. Where did this come from? What?
Who?
And this guy has the audacity to call himself Wilder's right hand.
I'm going to block him, by the way. I don't want to see. I'm searching for him right now.
That's at Wrath, that's WRATH, nightmare.
That is a fucking nightmare take, that one.
Random one. Shout out to Boring for nominating. Now, that's all the ones that I've got this week.
Yeah, Matty, that's nowhere near as... listen, Matty, that can't be anywhere worse than what I came out with last week, the way Spence being pound for pound number one. By the way, just to let you get ESPN, I've got Terence Crawford number one, just FYI.
Yeah.
Right, there he is.
He is.
Done.
Fucked.
Good stuff. Apart from him, Andy, anything for Belly of the Week from you, please?
Nothing for me, I don't think, mate.
Wow.
No, nothing from Andy. There you go.
I'm busy as fuck though, eh? Absolute chocolate at the work there.
No problem, Andy. Nothing from him, nothing from Oz. Anything from you, Matty?
Obviously we had the fat ass Gerald Miller. That was definitely a good one. And then I just some of the banter on DAZN was pretty good. Just what they had going on. Also, there was audio testing that was going on at the same time as a fight, and somebody just kept repeating 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 So that was pretty interesting. At some point in time, Todd Grisham said to Sergio Mora, "Sergio, can you even spell Mississippi?" Sergio replied, "Yes, I can."
They give Mora some stick on that, don't they?
Yeah. Then Mannix on the Brian Vera fights, he said, "I scored both for Vera." Sergio Mora said, "I broke a ligament." So there's just a lot from DAZN. I got to say there's just a lot to offer, and everything seems like fun and games until Sergio Mora decides to punch one of the arrogant honkies.
I actually want to hear Mora punch that Todd Grisham during fucking commentary one night, man. I ain't just a fucking dick the way he goes on. So Mora's need to knock that cunt out.
Need to get on DAZN or there'll be no jokes for you, aren't there?
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
I shouted to Bob Arum, who took out Leonard Ellaby's Dead Zone comment as well this week. I thought that was quite a good one. Didn't get it cut, but there you go. Rob, any nominations from you, please? Rob, any nominations?
Yeah, I have one. I don't know if you covered it already because I came on late, but it was Ebony Ebbs. Evening Ebbs.
Oh, yeah, we got them.
Did you get that one?
Ebbs.
Yes. Long day breaking the internet, she said. Who the fuck does this one think she is? Breaking the internet.
She said, she's Bo Derek, mate.
That's what I'm saying. Like Kim Kardashian and those ilk, that was breaking the internet, wasn't it? The whole world was talking about it. It wasn't just fucking the GAD and the group chat, fucking the AFL group chat. Like, relax. Anyway.
Okay, then let's go through them again very quickly before we make our picks and get out of here for the night. We had the guard himself getting stuck in there with Mitch Cattrall. We had Ebbs breaking the internet and breaking the hearts of her fans, including Joe, who was getting going like Wilder's right hand. We had Johnny Escott talking about punches to the forearms counting. We had Liam Wynn, Amir Khan's flirting at ringside. Lee the Bald Guy, we've mentioned him as well. We had Jarrell Miller fighting in the KO Drugs tournament. Woo! We had Bruce Lee versus Mike Tyson. We had the Groat Street. We had Adrian Broner. Excuse me. We had the Car in Germany as well coming in there. We had Rick Glazer. We had the Best of 2000, Usyk and Joshua. Wilder's right hand himself. And also Derek Chisora with the Squirrel, Matty. Who are you going for this week? Episode 480.
You know, it's kind of a tough one for me, Steve. With the Adrian Broner in there and also obese Jarrell Miller, it's really tough. But I don't want to make light of a fucked up situation here, so I'm going to go with morbidly obese Jarrell Miller.
Good stuff, Matty. That's his nomination. Who you go? That's his pick, actually. Andy, who are you going for?
Yeah, I'll go with the same, mate. I'm not wanting to pick up the AB one, to be honest with you. It's a bit too soon, so yeah, I'll go with Jarrell Miller, the fat cunt.
2 for the fat cunt, Jarrell Miller. There he is with his food.
Fucking size of that, man.
Just before you go.
345 pounds, mate. Holy shit.
He's so
he's looking like fucking Riddick Bowe, and Riddick Bowe is half brain.
And the thing is, see that Magnum and that kebab, the fucking about the same size as him. Look at the size of that, man. It's legit picture that, by the way, just so you know.
The PEDs were the only thing keeping him reasonably healthy.
Fucking hell. I mean, look at his tits, man. They're almost doing his fucking. Look at his
I'm telling you, right?
James Toney's
he had a great shot of beating fucking Joshua in Madison Square Garden.
Exactly, man.
Could have been the fucking heavyweight champion in the world, him.
Remember he put out that video on Instagram and he's like, he didn't say nothing, but he just pulled these faces and deep breaths that he fucking knew. He knew he'd fucking missed his chance. If he could just let his hands go, keep his shit in order. Fucking size of the cunt, though. Look at him, though. Look at the size of him.
He let everybody down. He let Serafina down.
He's actually in a position where he can actually. He's actually in a position where he can actually pick us out of underneath his tits, man. That's how fucking obese he is these days.
You have to remember, he's like 6'4" or 6'5", I think, this too. So you're talking basically like if Dillian White weighed 340 pounds.
Fucking Dillian White's not a fat.
He seems happy though. Seems very jolly. I'll say that about some of them.
Yeah,
played, you might say.
Fantastic. He's going to be able to be Santa Claus at a mall somewhere.
There you go. That's 2 for Jarrell.
Not if they're fucking doing any testing. He's not.
No wonder those reindeer are flying.
Who you going for, Rob?
Oh, Ebbs all day.
Oh, Ebbs all day. There she is. Good old Ebbs.
I think Steve is doing that one on purpose.
Rob, got a question for you, mate.
Oh, yeah, Tom, for fuck's sake. Come on.
Of course
Come
you
would.
Faster than Walder's right hand over.
Oh, mate, you'd be all
I don't know, lads. I don't know.
Shite. Don't geese it, man. You'd be like, fucking take
No,
one
I
with the
don't know.
macerated wino, mate. You'd be all
Imagine
at it.
how- no, listen. Imagine how to fucking listen to that. And I'll say you got the Phoenix for art. No, fuck off, man. You know, you take me crazy serious. Yeah, you're a boxer, are you? Come on.
Oh, good nomination there for Ebbs. I'm going to go for Jarrell Miller as well, with a special shout out to the Boo Boo Andrade comment. That just tickled me. I thought it was quite a funny one. Congratulations, though, to you, Jarrell Miller.
Toby, stop talking fucking Boo Boo Andrade. Let's get go on the road. What's the matter with you?
It's just such a random one, that. But yeah, I think Jarrell gets the vote for me as well. For the KO Drugs Festival, he hasn't won much lately, but he's won the Value of the Week for episode 480. Congratulations to you. Just before I hand over to you, Matty, shout out to our latest Patreon subscriber, Andrew Wedgwood, who joined over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Andrew Wedgwood has already jumped into the Nutters Messenger forum. Shout out to him. I'm going to shoot. Thank you very much, Matty. You carry on. Cheers for having me.
See you, Steve, man.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. And all right, Rob. So why don't you give us a roundup of the action, and then I'm going to give you 2 fights actually 3 to give picks on.
Why don't I? Because it's against the format. This is Value of the Week. It's time to say goodbye.
No, no, you're stuck.
What was so Bam Martinez versus Rungvisai?
Rodriguez.
Oh, sorry. Fucking Rodriguez versus Rungvisai. Yeah, go fight. What do I call it? The take.
You're breaking up like crazy, Rob. It's crazy. It's your time, and now you're breaking up. Oh, God. Now we've lost Rob.
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, so Jessica McCaskill on the undercard there. Good old Jessica. Good to see her back out. Yeah, no, I think he's a star in the making. He's with the zone, isn't he? Don't know what's next for him, but enjoyed the performance, and we'd like to see a stoppage as well. It would have been still a great performance if he had outboxed Rungvisai and like definitively beaten him over 12 rounds. It would have been still like a serious scalp, but to stop him was even better, like in a kind of a star-making performance, wasn't it? Like, which is hard to do at the lower weight, so we'll see. But I definitely enjoyed it. Good display of footwork, getting in and out, setting up angles, and the exclamation point is where we always want to see that, like if we can. So don't really have much else to add to the action. Came in the game late. I always feel weird giving the fucking analogies after Value of the Week. It's a bit strange. But what's the prediction for next week? Where am I, by the way, in the prediction league? I'm up the fucking chain now, am I?
Yes, Rob, because you, along with me, picked a stoppage in the Bam Rodriguez Rungvisai fight. We were able to pick up a point on Steve, and now you're only 4 behind.
There you go.
And since fights are getting canceled left and right, and we got to over-unders that we only give out a point for, I know. So 3.5 rounds, so that's a minute and a half into the 4th for Joe Joyce against Christian Hammer. Steve said it's going to go over.
Yeah, I think I'll go over it. I think it'll be about 5 or 6 rounds before Joyce gets his rhythm. He's a slow starter, isn't he? He fights at a good pace, Joe Joyce, but it normally takes him a little while to pick it up. So I'd say he will get him out of there, but it'll be on the over. He has to get him out of there, really, Joe Joyce, don't he? If he wants to be in the argument now, like, he's going to be pushing for a version of the title. I think he's mandatory, is he, for the IBF or something after this fight? So if there's not going to be unification after post the landscape of Usyk Joshua 2, he's going to be there knocking on the door. So he needs a win and could do with an exclamation point on it, like. So I'd say he will stop him, but I think it'll be probably after 6 rounds, like.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm the only one that said under, so you're probably right. And then we got the cruiserweight fight from Australia with Maris Bradis fighting the undefeated Jai Apataya, who coming in 21-0, 17 knockouts, I believe.
Yeah, Bradis is a strange one. He's been crying out for a fight with Jake Paul, hasn't he, for the last fucking year and a half? He's turning up looking for a Coley as well. Is he the B side in this fight? Per chance, Bradis? What's the crack? I don't know much about the opponent.
It's in Australia, so I mean, home cooking is possible.
Yeah, and your man's undefeated. I'm going to say Bradis. Yeah, Bradis by stoppage.
All right, you're the only one that went Bradis by stoppage, but everybody said Bradis except me. So again, you're probably right. All right. So, and then we got a good fight that's going to be over there on, God, I think this is on the Joyce card. No, yeah, I think this one is on the Joyce card with Jason Cunningham and Zolana Tete. And Steve went Cunningham on points on that one.
Yeah, Tete can have stinkers as well, can he? Like, yeah, we'll stick with that. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. I've gone for 2 stoppages, haven't I? So I'll go for Cunningham and a points win.
Same as everybody except for me. I went stoppage. So again, that's going good for you. Betting against me is solid, man. That's the house favorite. So right on. Well, thank you, Rob, for coming in. Sorry you didn't get in as early as you wanted.
Sorry, I was late, guys. One of those things.
Such is life, man. Such is life. I'd like to thank Steve for being on here, Andy as well. We'll be back next week to limp our way through this summer of sparse fights, to say the least. But we appreciate everybody for coming in here. We appreciate everybody that is part of our Patreon. Thank you for checking us out on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes. Just make sure you rate us wherever you go. We appreciate that. Helps to spread the word. And we will be back here next week for 5th episode number 481. Until that time, I've been your host, Matt DiGianardo. You folks have yourself a fantastic week.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good happening.
Go to move!
We want to be honest, yeah.
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. I will fucking smash. Fuck you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.